All right. Well, I'm hopefully on camera. I have no idea. So I've got a background thing going on. I have no idea if it's actually picking up or anything. And yes, the struggle bus. I don't know if you're still here. Probably not. Hopefully not. I always assume that it's a good thing that anybody who might be watching me as I do these streams is probably not, because they are employed, and I am not. Hi. It's been a while. Okay, there we go. So there's a loop playing in the background. It should be audible. It should be barely audible to me. Hopefully, fully audible to you. Please, if anybody is watching, anybody at all, let me know if the sound is okay. I'm doing some testing. Yes, I am in fact testing you and testing the technology. I'm trying to do a multi-stream here. So I've got Twitch and I've got YouTube, and they're both reporting back excellent. I can see the chat on the side there, the Twitch chat. I don't know how to get the YouTube chat onto the same screen. In theory, I'll be able to do that if I were to get viewers on the YouTube chat, which is it's a miracle I get any viewers at all on Twitch, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, welcome to a bit of a rebrand for my particular channels, both on YouTube and Twitch, as I'm trying something new and probably unsuccessful, as I refocus my energy on tabletop RPGs and try to make it as a professional game master. Wish me luck with that. Although, to be fair, I do have some lovely reviews. I'm on this service called startplaying.games. That's startplaying.games. There's links to that, I believe. If you're on Twitch, there should be some links, and one of them is to my GM profile. You can see my reviews there, and if you're interested in having me run a game for you for money, because I need the money, please look into it. I only have a couple of games right now, but I'm hoping to open up a whole bunch more tables. I'm also going to hopefully be doing a lot more content, not just live streams, but also recorded videos, and that's kind of what I'm planning to do here today. This is more of a quick little test stream as I try and test what is going on with my facial hair. Bad things. But as I try and just get a feel for this, see if this works. I've got a game. I'm going to just kind of hold it up here for a second, but I've got a better camera shortly. Penumbra City, a World of Harrow game. And I'm going to be taking a look at that. I've got a little overhead camera that you're going to see in a second. So hopefully the video quality and everything is good as I do the double streaming. This is mostly a test. I'm not exactly expecting the masses to rush over. In fact, I see 0 concurrent viewers over there. And so any way for me to get that same info here? I don't know. Keep tabs on chat, action, activity. I have no idea. So anyway, for me to get these numbers on the Twitch thing, I have 1 viewer, and that's probably just me, or if it's somebody else, I'm so sorry. I'm so terribly sorry. So in the meantime, I'll just leave this here. But hey, testing, right? Let's go ahead and switch over. I've got a whole separate screen for the actual overhead, and then when I'm actually taking notes, I've got another screen. So let's kind of go ahead and switch screens here, see how that works. So I'm just going to kind of go here to the main screen, and there we go. We've got a little Penumbra City. You can still see my keyboard a little bit. I've got a D20 just in case we need it. And here is the book for Penumbra City, a World of Harrow Game. We've got, again, another little background music. Hopefully that's nice. I dig it. Let's see how this looks. So Penumbra City. So you can see I've got a little bookmark there. So I'm just not even a third into the book right now. And that ADHD, boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out when you were here in the lovely United States of America, the greatest city in New York City, if you happen to be unemployed, you have no health care, and ADHD, it turns out it's really hard to do a lot of things when you no longer can't get your meds. So trying to focus on a book again is hard, and I'm hoping that maybe, by kind of working out in the open here, I will be able to get a bit more done, right, and make some plans. So what I'm doing is I'm looking to this game because I'm trying to, I want to do a video on it. Well, I've got a whole bunch of games, actually. You know what? At some point in a bit, I'll take a break, and when I come back, I'll bring like a whole pile of books so you can see the books that I'm planning to go through and do like YouTube videos on. And I figure part of what I can do with that is I can kind of live stream as I go through the books for the first time or second time in some cases. And as I take notes, and hopefully if people are watching, they can ask questions and get some more input on what we're looking at. So let's start off with Penumbra City. Penumbra City here. I got this from a Kickstarter a while ago, actually. Haven't had a chance to really play it or really go through it other than to take a quick look, crack it open, and see that one of the character classes here, let's see if I can, here we go, almost skipped it over, are the Fungalians, who are basically street poet berserkers who take magical mushrooms to basically go berserk, and they look like characters from A Clockwork Orange. I dig that. It is a vibe, and for those of us who have been, for those of you actually who've been following for a while, and who know me from the Fandible podcast, which by the way, fandible.com, if you want to go look at it and you want to see what I am like as a player and as a GM, Fandible, FANDIBLE.com is the place to go. There is literally decades of audio there. Most of it pretty okay. And this game reminds me a lot of one that we started with, which is Unhallowed Metropolis. It's got some similar vibes while still being its own complete separate world. And it's a sort of post-apocalyptic urban fantasy fallen London kind of thing. So let's go ahead and kind of leaf through the book, and we'll take some notes as we go as we're learning about it. So Penumbra City, a World of Harrow game. Now I haven't done a lot of research previously. We're literally just going through this book now, but it sounds to me like the World of Harrow might be an established thing somewhere else. I'm not sure. I've read a little bit of the setting, and there's definitely a lot more beyond just the city, just Penumbra City. But I don't know if it is addressed, if there's a game line or other stuff. But that's something we can look into for later. But for now, let's continue here. So let's see. Take our quick, just our quick credits here. So it looks like this game was assigned by, and oh boy, forgive me, please. I'm gonna try. Sincerely going to try, but I'm probably going to just absolutely butcher this. But looks like it was designed by Inman Neruin. I'm not quite sure. I'm pronouncing it both in Spanish and English, and probably both are wrong. Hey, Struggle Bus, welcome in. Onward to try and become less confused. Also, hello. Yeah, no worries. You have meetings. I appreciate that you have meetings. I no longer have meetings or employment or income of any kind for a while now. I'm very lucky that I had savings and still continue to have savings to keep this going as I try and do something here. Because holy shit, the job market is hell. If you have a job, cling as long as you can, because holy shit. Anyway, designed by Inman Neruin. Let's see here. Illustrations by Robin Savage. Good job. Again, that illustration of the Fungalians, hey, went right to it. Really kind of caught my attention and made me want to know more about the game. Let's see. Margaret Killjoy for world design. Cool. Then the rest of our credits here. And again, if you're interested in this book, I'm not going to show this part. If you already read it, well, I guess cheats. Otherwise, it is available from tangledwilderness.org. So let's go ahead. All right. So we've got our credits. We got everything else. I have all 4 hands and feet latched on. Will I continue to work from home as long as possible? Good luck, Struggle Bus. Good luck. Holy shit. Technically, I'm continuing to work from home. This is work. Trying to make it work. And but I mean, if this works, it works, right? I mean, look at me. This is a good setup. This is high quality. You can see things. We've got the whole double camera set up. And once I'm gonna go take notes. Check this out. Look at that. I've got a split screen where I will be able to then take my notes and do stuff while still looking at the book, while still being right here, because I am technologically advanced, much like the Tau. But first, for now, we're not taking notes yet because we haven't caught up. Once we catch up with my little bookmark here, then I'm probably going to go back to taking notes, because I do very much wanna do a proper video on this one that isn't just me rambling while this. Yeah, it's been seamless so far. Awesome. Where you bring the Cinos in. Look, man. I've got Warhammer on the brain, because with the new game that came out, even though I haven't played it yet, it's $60. I just mentioned that I'm basically unemployed. Okay, I have all the nice toys because I bought them back when I had money. I miss money. Anyway, so I haven't bought it. I probably won't for a while. Maybe when it goes on sale eventually. I hear mixed reviews, but I do like the idea of just kind of crushing some Xenos sometimes. Just anything else sounds a bit like heresy, my friend. Gotta say. You have been playing it, enjoying it. Yeah. No, I mean, again, I've heard good things. I've heard mixed things, but like for my purposes, it seems kind of like mostly brainless fun. So I do want to give it a try at some point. But because of that, yes, I do have a little bit of Warhammer on the brain. I'm also just like, my TikTok feed is just all Warhammer. There's a couple of creators. One of them coined the term Chudhammer to refer to the certain segments of the Warhammer fan just community, and that's one of the most accurate things I've ever heard. Hey, Stream. So my bots still work. That's nice. That game, the Cats and Corpses, by the way, is a game that I'm probably gonna like revamp on this stream, because I thought it was fairly well balanced. I thought the game. There's like 4 things, right, that can happen when you draw cards. When you do a reading, you can get all red cards, all black cards, or 2 red and 1 black, or 2 black and 1 red, and the probabilities on them are it's a pretty standard probability, and so certain things happen depending on which combination of colors you get. Sorry about that, and I thought that I had set it up so that about 50-50 chance that you can quote unquote win the game, get one of the good endings as you're drawing your cards and telling your story about how you died and you're trying to take care of your cat. I was wrong. I did some test playing, because I don't usually play test my games, because my games are just like little one-offs sent off for the Patreon folks who don't really get a lot of playtesting or any playtesting. Maybe I should playtest, because I decided to try it for myself so I could maybe stream like myself playing my own game or whatnot. And it turns out that's Chudhammer shooting me, Grim Derp. I hadn't heard that one. I love that one, Grim Derp. Anyway, point is, I tried to I did a few test runs and nothing. I couldn't get past like day 6. My cat was not dying, but dining on me no further than day 6, no matter what I did. And so I used some of my hard-earned technical skills, and I wrote a little Python script. And I programmed, the different end states and different probabilities and all that. And I told them, all right, calculate, given these parameters that I've given you, how many cards you draw, the chances of the cards can take, blah, 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 the whole thing. There's a few, it's not that hard. And it calculated that it was basically like 90% chance that you will fail, and then like a 10% chance of anything besides just the most horrible failure, when I thought it was like closer to 50-50. So, oops, I did not mean to make the game that sad, not on purpose anyway. So yeah, math does happen. So I wrote another script that, then I told it, let's go from the other side. These are the parameters you can modify. I want as close as you can get to these percentages, calculate what I would need, what parameters I would need, so that, you know, you can get like this ending X amount of the time, and also give me what the other ending percentages end up being. And it ran like 10,000. That script took a lot longer. Especially took a lot longer to run. The other script was almost immediate. It would just run like 10,000 simulated games and give me immediate results. This one was finding out the other side, and it took a little while longer. It takes a few minutes to run, but it gave me some decent ones that are kind of unexpected. And the main thing that it gave me was that negative for two things. One, I was only allowing people to I'm really off topic here. I should be talking about this game, but I'm talking about mine. So you know what, before I do that, let's just I'm gonna go back here. Here we go. Since I'm not talking about the game, I feel bad to talk about my game when I've got another game on here, but I just need to get this off my head. But before, you would only really get so in order to quote unquote win, you have to figure out who murdered you, and the person off topic, this channel, never exactly. But the big win, though, the best ending is you manage to figure out your murder. You manage to reveal all 4 mystery cards that you are dealt out, and you keep your cat alive and at least with at least 1 point of contentment before the 14 days have passed. That is the good ending. Now, you know, it had to do the whole calculation, and I had it so that if you had all 3 red cards, that is kind of like a top positive, and you gained X amount of contentment and ectoplasm back, and you got to reveal one of your cards. And that was the only thing that would reveal a mystery. And then as I was editing, I was like, all right, let's have mysteries also be revealed with all blacks, which is usually the bad one. But the bad one also took away some ectoplasm, took away some contentment. All the calculations showed that I should definitely have both all reds and all blacks reveal mystery cards, but also the all blacks should maybe not reduce. And so I'm trying to fix it, because I really do want there to be a bit of a penalty when you get a bad, quote unquote, bad reading, because right now both the 2 blacks and 1 red and the all black would take away contentment, would take away ectoplasm, but the game only seems to work if I don't have that happen. But I also don't want to just have to give the player like 50 tokens so they can, you know, play a game and have a you know, at least a 50-50 chance of finishing the story, not simply having it crash and burn a couple of days in. So that's something that I might do in a future stream, just actively playtest and try that, because I like the game. It's even gotten good reviews in definitely in a vibes sense. Like, people will read through the game and go like, I like the vibes, I like what you're doing here. I don't think enough people have played it. And the people who have played it, there are a couple of playthroughs online, which is endlessly gratifying, by the way, having people play your game. I don't think any of them has ever reached the end. They've all died or failed out at some point. So I would like to kind of workshop it a little more. Yeah, exactly. And see if I can get it to be a little bit more, and then release it as a version 2.0 or something. Yeah. But for today, I'm going to try and stay on topic, just in case, especially since I'm dual streaming to YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hi. There's nobody here on YouTube, but it doesn't matter. The main thing is that, unlike with Twitch, where I would record streams and then I would never get to see them again because I would forget to go on the Twitch thing and automatically save them, YouTube just does that automatically, and it doesn't care. It doesn't care. Great content. Yay! So with that in mind, let us go back to the content. Let's go ahead and, oh, not that one. Here we go. This one here. So let's read through the introduction. I'm going to actually read through the introduction a bit, because they do a pretty good job of trying. I've been trying to reword this, and I will eventually for my video, because I don't want to just read out what's on the book necessarily. But also at the same time, what's on the book is good. What's in the book, it's good stuff. So let's go ahead and kind of read through it a little bit. Right back to Penumbra City, presume a Victorian setting based on the image with less zombies and Unhallowed Metropolis. Yeah, it's definitely got some Unhallowed Metropolis vibes, Struggle Buzz. Not so much with there's still like pollution. You're still living in this undercity that is covered by shadows, but it's definitely not the same thing. While the countryside is devastated, it's not a plague, it's a war. So we'll get to it. So let's kind of read through it. There's a black fog that hangs over the city, and it's not as metaphorical as you might hope. It's coal dust. Somewhere up through that smoke, there's a glorious silver city hovering in the sunshine. But don't concern yourself much with the floating quarter, because only the rich and holy will ever see it. Groundside, orphans dig through rubble and trash to scavenge the parts to fix their motorcycles. Street poets sell fungus and brawl over territory. And bureaucrats ride black horses to midnight salons where they plot the death of the God King. The graveyard's been squatted by immigrants now for longer than you've been alive, and there's a gang of nihilist ex-Marines who seem intent on blowing up half of everything. This here's your guide to the city, a who's who and a where's where. It's just about everything you need to know to survive your visit, so welcome to Penumbra City. There's plenty to do if you don't mind the dust, or the smoke, or the crime, or the monsters. And it goes on. There's the Ireni Federation, who are sort of a revolutionary force, an anarchist artist collective that has gathered a whole bunch of other groups to form a revolutionary force standing up against the God King. This is a game, by the way, from what I've read so far, it is a very worker-forward game. It is definitely. I mean, one of the main factions is one of the main characters is a labor thug, and there's a lot of talk of anarchism, self-help, mutual aid, and just taking down the just the structures of power that are oppressing, literally and metaphorically, the Penumbra City that lives under the literal floating city in the sky of silver. No idea why that might be popular. Yeah, I mean, look, this is all just pure planning, pure thought experiment in Minecraft. All right. So I do love the set. So here's what I was saying earlier in the stream, I believe, when I was so alone, about this being a World of Harrow game. So this is the world outside the city, that World of Harrow. And we are told that 1,000 years ago, 9 human magicians performed an unknowable, unspeakable act of evil to become living gods. The World of Harrow is their chessboard as they play at war, making and breaking alliances and sending their pieces, people, or monsters that used to be people, into the slaughter. So we hear about these nine human magicians, these god kings, but the only one we really care about on a day-to-day basis is Ath. The current war is going badly for Ath, who rules a country of the same name from the silver, a marvelous city that floats above Penumbra City. His church is losing its grip. Food is scarce, disease is rampant, and the revolutionary factions of the city are gaining control of new territory every day. Meanwhile, life continues. Jazz clubs are open all night, and workers and vagrants both gather in the evenings at bars to listen to music and theater transmitted by that new invention, the radio. Smugglers bring food and weapons across blockades by steamship and airship alike. Step pyramids house ancient thinking machines that ponder the universe. Mycomancers find divinity and communion in fungus. Occultists walk the ether. Ornithopters buzz overhead, and soldiers head to the front on trains to drive steam-powered tanks towards the trenches of Hearn, Ath's neighbor and enemy, who fights with vivisected half-human soldiers. I mean, I love the setting. This is the world that it finds itself in. It literally is a city besieged by war. So outside, the countryside is a ruin of bone and shrapnel, and the wildest creatures have moved into the urban decay. Beneath the city is a labyrinth older than the gods themselves, from which strange monsters pour forth to devour the unlucky. Adventurers descend regularly into the depths. A few have even returned, telling stories of mushrooms that think, mushrooms that plot, mushrooms that speak without words, mushrooms that devour. Like, I dig it. I dig it. It is very focused, and we'll see very soon. We're gonna look at the classes, and then we're gonna look at the factions right after. Very focused on Penumbra City. Once you actually get into the classes, the factions, everything else, it is at least so far a game that is going to be focused on the stories that are told within Penumbra City itself. But this world that surrounds it, I dig it. I dig it. I wonder if there are more games, or if there will be more games kind of set in this World of Harrow. I'm curious about some of the other, like, God Kings and whatnot. Mycelial Network villains. No, so yes, some of them might be villains, but a lot of the character classes also, like, fuck with the fungus. We fucks with the fungi in this game. So we'll get to that. Yeah, so, and then now we go into the, I'm just going to go ahead. This is, again, these two, and I'm not going to read the entire book, but I think the introduction, again, is worth reading through together. If I was doing this in a tabletop, I might, at the very least, ask my players to read this so they have an idea of the setting, and if they don't read it, then I will do the voices at them and read it for them. Orgwa Origins Inbound. All right, you caught me. This is actually a World of Warhammer 2K game, 40K game. This is where orcs begin. Let's see here. Penumbra City, the silverhead, the local coin, became so inflated that most people abandon currency entirely and make do with mutual aid, where who someone knows and what they think of them matters. So this is interesting because later on we meet one of the factions over here, one of the sort of the reasonable, the centrist factions. The Lords of the New Order, and their specific thing is that they want, it's an association of business leaders who want nothing more than to get the population of the city back to using money. So that's the thing, like, inflation has gone to the point in this city, in this setting, so far that money is basically useless. Because it's easier to just owe people favors and do mutual aid. And the merchants, I'm sure, hate that. The capitalist forces hate that, because if money becomes worthless, then how are they supposed to translate that into power, right? That's something that some real-world countries are kind of dealing with right now. Hey, in Minecraft. Let's go ahead. As the beasts of Hern, so I'm assuming those are those vivisected half-human soldiers from the kingdom of Hern, who I assume is one of the other god kings. Yeah, fuck the dog kings. Let's see here. As both trade and local food production falter, the people of Penumbra City have learned to count on themselves and each other, and various gangs and factions have formed loose coalitions to meet their needs. The revolutionists seek to see Ath dethroned. The Bulwark is countering them, hoping to bring back the glory of Ath and restore the city and the country by returning law to the city, but also by keeping all labor focused on maintaining the machinery of war. That may sound a little familiar to people of my own personal country. Make Ath great again. So I'm curious. Let's see. Return to barter system. Suck it, Reagan. Hey, who? I wonder. Okay, so maybe we'll see in the history who the Reagan. I mean, I think Ath is the Reagan of Penumbra City, just by default. Let's see here. Meanwhile, a third coalition, who call themselves the Reasonable, just want everyone to calm down, or don't want to make enemies with either side so that they do okay no matter who wins. I think we all know people like that as well. Penumbra City is a tabletop role-playing game set in the World of Harrow. Players are presumed to be roughly aligned with the revolutionists, and most, but not all, playable classes come from the ranks of the revolutionary factions. Each player has a class. Each class is an associated faction. Each faction is part of a larger coalition. During the course of the game, players can find themselves building reputation with different coalitions, and factions can change loyalty between the various coalitions as players build favor with opposed factions. So when we get to the character sheets, we'll see that you start with some default faction sort of points. I'm not very far in this book, but it looks like your popularity or your connection to the various factions is going to play a fairly important part in the gameplay of this. So I'm real curious how that's going to go as well. See if the book actually provides good systems for that, or if it's meant to just be kind of walked over. Not 100% sure. Yes. So for some reason now I got the message that you left on the Fandible server, Struggle Buzz. So yeah. Again, testing. That was an initial test just to see if it worked. I wish neither system, I don't know how it is that neither Twitch nor YouTube allow you to kind of do a test stream that doesn't actually fully go live to the world. But they do that. They just say, does this work? Let's see. Boom, boom, and just the entire world looking down upon you. And if it doesn't work, it's very embarrassing. But it did work. I just had forgotten that I wanted some little background music playing, so I had to go away, add that, come back. I could have done that live, considering how much I'm blathering about that. Whatever. Streams are like this. Let's see. Having a reputation is helpful so long as it's properly supported. Otherwise, it can become just a clunky, fast. Exactly. Like some games will handle it well, and like Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark, I think, handles it very well. I haven't played enough Blades in the Dark. I really should go back and take a bigger look at Blades in the Dark, and then I want to take a look at a bunch of these games, like Blades in the Dark. We'll take a look at Spire and Heart. That should be like a big double feature that I do. I have the books for Eat the Reich. I also want to go through that. I have so many games, and each one of them could be like its own like multi-hour like thing. Let's see. If you title the test, everyone will just get the idea. I don't think there's a way. Yeah, no, exactly. No, there really isn't a way to privately check things. And again, this wasn't like I kind of like started streaming without meaning to, because when you're doing multi-streaming, it's complicated. You want your OBS, if OBS is what you're using, you want OBS, the primary streaming thing, to send to YouTube, which is has its own like managed broadcast interface that you kind of have to set up. And then streaming to Twitch at the same time, especially if you're not using like a restream service, requires a plugin, whatnot, and then the plugin doesn't let me like retitle the stream properly, so I have to kind of start the stream and then go into the Twitch. It's a mess. It's a mess. Again, it's a miracle I got this working as well as it does with the overhead here and the overhead here and the regular camera and the switching and the sound. The fact that I am, in fact, multi-streaming. This is live on YouTube. I can see the YouTube stuff doing. I have one view. Hooray. So anyway, it's a lot of work for you, Struggle Bus. I do it all for you. Honestly, sincerely, like no jokes, all jokes aside, I sincerely appreciate you hanging out. Because while I was going to just talk to myself, I appreciate having somebody, so thank you. And if you do have to leave, by the way, please do. Don't let me hold you. The idea is that the streaming will continue until either employment or morale improves. I'm not sure. I'd been meaning to do this a lot more before. I've just been. It's a lot, man. But now that I've kind of got this set up and I know that it all works and everything, I'm going to do a lot more of this. And also, like I said, I'm going to be doing, I'm doing like a lot of ProGM stuff. So I'm actually going to, do I have the thing here? Can I do that? Give me a second. This is something that okay, here we go. So can I get on Twitch over here? Yes. Yeah, here we go. So if I were to do this, yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm allowed to post links for myself. So that I just posted, that's the link to my GM page, my GM profile on Start Playing Games. And that's where I'm hoping, wow, so the bitrate here as well, is that good? Is this good? Are things good here? It says it's a little unstable, average stream bitrate too high. You know what, I'll let you know, I don't care. You do what you gotta do. Hopefully this is fine. I should probably turn off that Disco Elysium companion. I've got so much stuff to take care of anyway. Point is, that is my profile there, and you can see the couple of games that I'm running now. I'm hoping to have a whole bunch. And yes, some Fandle of Luck. So basically, when you start out with Start Playing, you kind of need reviews to get players, because nobody's going to sign up and offer to pay you money to run them an online game if they have no idea who you are or if you're a good GM. But you can't get reviews without games, right? Kind of a catch-22. So Start Playing lets you, like basically, yeah, exactly. It's like the yeah, the credit system, exactly. Bringing it back to the game. Good job. But yeah, point is, like, I was like, well, who knows me as a GM better than the people that I've been playing with for the past decade plus. That, and I ran a game of Die RPG, which, by the way, highly recommended, and I might actually do one of these streams about, because I really enjoyed it. And I did a game of that with a few of the people from the Fanduel server, and it went really well, and they were also very kind to leave me some reviews. So now that I've got, at least I met the minimum range of 5 reviews, now that profile page is kind of like accessible and there, and hopefully I'll be able to get a few more. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, anybody watching today or later, I'm gonna be plugging that as needed. And don't worry, no, I did, dude. I understand. Scheduling is, of course, the final boss of all tabletop RPGs. I'm hoping to have a lot more sessions and tables open. I just need to kind of figure out what are the best times that I can make work both for myself and for others. Like, I know most people are going to be available at night or on the weekends, which means that's going to be the time that I'm going to have to be offering games. But also, I have a housemate, so there's a limit to what hours I can run games, because I need to be able to be vocal. And I can close the door, but also, again, I'm not going to be a dick to my housemate, and like if there's a game that's like at 2 a.m., it's just kind of me screaming out to my players. I also found out some really interesting things about like people paying for tabletop RPG games. Like, for example, people tend to not like horror games at night because nightmares. Horror games do better earlier in the day. Another thing was, don't run heavy games. In the middle of the week, like days like today, Wednesday and Thursday. People don't want heavy games. They want lighthearted. They want cathartic. They want fun. They want fast-moving. Keep the heavy stuff for the weekend, for Friday, maybe even a Monday. Interesting stuff. And yes, you do get. I mean, there are some people who are going to love playing horror at night, but just numbers-wise, overall, from what they've seen on the site, horror games don't do that well at night, which totally surprised me. Once again, all my instincts. Again, that's, like I said, you'll have individuals. You'll have individuals who will have different preferences, of course, but like, this is more like just overall overarching trends within the site, right? We can't all be David. Exactly. Anyway, going back to here, this is a system that David would like, by the way, because it's a roll-under system. We'll get to that shortly. So let's see here. I'm going to kind of skip over, because the rest of the now we're talking gameplay and tabletop RPG stuff in general. So let's kind of go over to the overview of the classes, because I know this is what a lot of people are really more interested in. I mean, they'll want to know about the system, and we'll get to it very shortly. It doesn't look terribly complicated, although I haven't touched combat yet. Combat is usually when things start getting a little bit more complicated. Some of David Dice luck is not just roll high or low, it's just roll poorly. True that. Although there is something. I noticed something interesting in the system. We'll get to it shortly. So no matter whether you roll high or low, the system has something to tell you. But let's go to the overview of the classes, and I'm eager to dive into each one by one later. But first, let's go here. Overview of classes. So Penumbra City is a class-based game. Players pick from a pool of classes that determine their class's abilities, starting equipment, and starting reputation. Each class is tied to a faction. Not every faction currently has a playable class, which will make more sense once we look at the factions shortly. So the first class is the Clackers. They're building a decentralized difference engine in the sewers of the city, and if you don't like it, too bad, because they're also the best bomb makers around. Doesn't do well to interfere with their plans. So I like it. Mad Hacker, Mad Bomber, combine them together. What do you get? You get the Clackers. That's dope, right? That's an intro. The Corsorian Knights. They never get angry. They never get tired. And they also, somehow, never seen to die. The Corsorian Knights belong to an ancient order of anarchist knights who each devise their own tenets and who fight in a calm trance. So these are basically your... I mean, there's a couple of classes, because like the Fungalians are also kind of berserkers. Corsorian Knights are less berserkers and more trance-circers. Like they go into a battle trance, which is very cool. Dog Girl, motorcycle riding, house squatting, live fast, die fast mechanic who sings in tongues and knows that one day their bike is going to explode underneath them. This one just seems like fun. If you're the kind of player who likes a vehicle, likes vehicle and mounted combat, there's two for those. There's the Dog Girls and there's the, I believe, Gaia. The Gas Lampers are also technically vehicle. They have a horse. But Dog Girls are the ones they have. They are the punk motorcycle riders. They also know about everybody in town. We'll get to them shortly. I like the Dog Girls. Drive fast, take chances. The character, exactly, precisely, my friend. Let's see here. We have a viewer, looks like, on the YouTubes. My condolences if you are watching. Hopefully the quality is good. This is my first time trying this stuff. Let's see here. Ex-Marines, when you leave the elite Steam Corps, you're supposed to turn in your bolt thrower and your coal-fired exoskeleton, but the ex-Marine must have forgotten. These are the glitter boys of this game. That is a reference that me and 3 other people who played Rifts might get. So if you don't get that reference, apologies. That is the kind of person I am. Rifts, Palladium Rifts, by the way, is the game. If you do know about Rifts, my apologies there as well. But the ex-Marines are kind of the glitter boys of this. Their main thing and their powers go around their power armor that they have. Then there's the Fungalians, which were the ones that really first sort of drew my attention to this game. A street poet who deals fungus, both legal and illegal, whose drugs can bolster her comrades and can send her into a battle frenzy. So again, we've got a little bit of the whole barbarian, like go into a battle frenzy. Having seen this class a little bit further in the book, I know that they are also more like barbarian. they have some social things. They do. They also just kind of the effects that they can do with their drugs, with their mushroom tinctures and whatnot, are pretty interesting. So it is. There's barbarian, druidish, maybe, kind of. I'm trying to reframe a couple of these in the kind of vernacular of the genre, if you will. A little bit of alchemist barbarian on that side. Exactly, Strogobus. Let's see here. The Gas Lampers, the elite of the upper middle class, belong to a secret society that meets in graveyards, rides black horses, fights with crossbow and sword cane, and recently turned their attention to the overthrow of the God King. So these guys, them and the lordlings are interesting. For these are, for the players that want to play some kind of noble character or some kind of more elite character, rather than almost all of the other ones are just kind of like the dregs of society, ex-Marines, punks, drug dealers, etc., etc. So if you want to play something a little bit more higher class, those are going to be probably your options there. Then we got the Gunslingers, and I don't know enough about them yet. I haven't gotten to really look at this class very closely, or the Outsiders, because the Outsiders are these immigrants that were referred to earlier, a little bit earlier, who live in the graveyard. Which is interesting, and I haven't read about that yet, so I'm curious to see where that'll go. But the Gunslinger, the Outsiders, are a strange bunch, most of them living in the graveyard, but some of them are gunsmiths without peer who build and modify their own firearms. So I'm curious to see what this class does, and see if there's anything like magical or particularly interesting, or are they just simply like that? Their whole thing is just that they use guns. I'm hoping that there's interesting stuff here to do with the guns, because I usually really like gun fu, gun kata, and just magic gun powers. I hate guns in real life, but in games I kind of dig the whole thing. Which, by the way, that's another game that I'm going to talk about at some point in one of these streams, Gun and Slinger. That one I've actually run a few times, and I fucking love it. And I definitely want to talk about that game on one of these streams or one of these videos. So look forward to that. Let's see here. The labor thugs. So I mentioned this one earlier. The labor thugs, if you ask them, labor thugs and the union are the only thing standing between industrial workers and exploitation. Standing between with iron pipes, wrenches, or anything that they can get their hands on. And so one of the things that I'm nervous about in this book right now is power imbalance. Because you've got people like the Fungalians with special like fungus powers. You've got these knights that apparently can fight beyond death. You've got people with power armor. You've got these hacker bomb makers. And then you've got dude with an iron pipe. Right? Like, I'm hoping there's more to them, and I suspect it's probably going to be like some social bonuses. They're going to be able to like call in friends from the union, stuff like that. So I'm real curious what they're going to do with this, because that's a problem that I've run into in a few other games where like the wizard characters or the characters that are a little bit more esoteric have all sorts of options, and then there's just the guy with a big stick archetype. And what do? You hit people with the stick, and as you get more powerful, you hit them harder with that stick, or maybe you hit them more often with the stick. Like, we'll see. Hopefully the labor thug has more imaginative stuff, and I think they will, because most of these have really have surprised me with the depth that they have. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Lordlings. It ain't easy being a rich bastard. Well, maybe it is easy. The lordling is slumming with the revolutionists, and it turns out privilege can still get you embarrassingly far in this world. The lordling has all the right gear, can get out of jail with a favor from their father, and can take on the traits of another class. Lordling, at first glance, feels a little OP, doesn't it? Lordling feels a little OP. You've got a lot of money, you have favors you can call on, and apparently you can take on the traits of, you can colonize the other classes. Then again, it may be accurate. Money does get you far. Money and power, ain't that a bitch? So I'm curious to see again how they do this balance, right? How you go from, how do you, if balance is, or at least story-wise, like just make them interesting to play rather than straight up game balance. It's more about like, what makes this interesting? Why would it be at least as interesting to play a labor thug as it would to play a lordling, right? That's kind of my thought and worry there. Let me catch up on chat real quick. Yeah, physical characters are inherently limited to possibility, where magic is throw stuff on the wall and see what kicks. Exactly, right? Like, there's only so many ways you can hit a dude with a stick and make it memorable, versus magic is magic, right? It does whatever it wants to do. Lordling feels a little busted off the rip, though I feel like they should get penalties when dealing with, say, Cedar and... Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping there will, either be benefits, or rather penalties, as you said, for dealing with some of the Undercity people who can, see that you're not one of them, or possibly maybe something along the lines of... or in addition to, rather, like, right, besides having bonuses, maybe dealing with the nobility, but also the fact that you can get out of jail with a favor, blah, 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 like favors and responsibilities. Like, that's I think where the lordling would be interesting, and I think it's probably a challenge for the GM, for the storyteller. That you rein them in by basically tying them down with favors and responsibilities, right? Otherwise, they're going to lose those benefits. We'll see once we get there. But I think that's hopefully what they're going to do, because, yeah, as you said, it does feel a little bit OP right off the bat. And let's go with the occultist, which is probably one of my favorites because I always like playing the wizard. They wear all black. They like bombs. They talk with the dead. They walk the ether. They've got a phantasmal familiar. They read tarot, and they curse anyone who gets in their way. Right? Again, or you can have a iron pipe. And look, man, Union... Oh, sorry, did not mean to punch the mic. Sorry for your ears. But look, Union strong, always. But... Harold. No, like Harold. Okay, Harold. Yeah, actually, that is Harold, isn't it? That is 100% Harold. You're correct. Punch the mic. We're here for it. That is that punk aesthetic that you sign up for here, right? Punch the mic. Fight the power. Row. Fight the power. Patchworker. Here's your healers. Here's the doctors. There's no clerics in this game. Not that kind of game, but you do have a doctor. Patchworker. Everyone is scared of these doctors. They can do wonderful and horrible things with scalpels. They can also slap some fungal paste onto a patch of skin they've cut off a corpse, put that bad boy right onto your wounds, and heal you up. It even works most of the time. I love that. I cannot wait to get to this character class. I love playing healers. In addition to playing wizards, I do like playing healers and support. So I'm curious to see how they handle the patch worker. Also, in any game, I'm also just always curious, like, how I'm going to take a hit. I'm going to get hurt. How bad is that going to fuck me up? Example right now. We are, those of you who are listening to the Fandom Podcast, we have a Hunter series going on. And my character in that series, Nate Leaf, he is very much a non-combatant. He was designed to be, even though this is a game of Hunter, and he is a hunter, and he wants to take down the monsters, but he is not a frontline fighter in any way. He is a visionary, so his whole thing is that he researches, he gets these visions, he's able to pinpoint the kind of weakness the monsters has, and then he can give that to the rest of the party so they can hopefully go and deal damage to the monster, take care of it, or whatever, deal with the monster of the week. And he tries to stay in the back, tries to not get hurt. Recent game, he got hurt. He got hurt bad. World of Darkness, Mortals. He's alive. Spoilers. He did survive. But rules as written, he's fucked for months at a time. There is some magical healing that can happen, yada, yada, yada. And again, I'm playing Hunter perfectly. I'm going to get hurt. But man, I'd forgotten how much it sucks to be a mortal in these games and get hurt. That's one of the things that you try not to, it's the reason that we play these games, that we don't do this stuff in real life. Yeah, wounds take a while to heal from in real life. That sucks to have to play out in character in a game. At least my personal experience, right? Any game where that is very lethal, like one hit can take down half your life or more, and then it's going to take me like months to recover from that one hit. So we'll see how this game handles it. And yes, World of Darkness is fucking brutal for normies. So, as a confession, I have to catch up on the Hunter game. Strapping my... No worries, please. We have so much stuff. Take your time. But that said, they're very good games. Dave has done a pretty good job. He keeps adding sound effects and music on them. Major props to Dave for the editing on there. I love Dave and Jesus for the audio editing they do. I can do video editing all day. I love video editing. In fact, I kind of enjoy it. Weirdly enough, audio editing, I cannot, for the life of me, cannot do audio editing. I just immediately will start falling asleep. Or do your God Machine bit of time loop. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So I could get away with some real bullshit in the God Machine, which, by the way, is why the games I'm running on Start Playing are going to be God Machine ones, because I really enjoyed that. I'm not going to be running the exact same plot that I ran on the podcast, mainly because that plot is very sort of like armed forces and cop heavy. I'm looking to see if I can run it, but I want to do some adjustments. But the one that I'm doing right now is still very much a fight back against the God Machine kind of vibe, which I'm looking forward to. And yeah, it is a bit blue, that one. So I might adjust, because it's still a good one, and I like the themes of it, in which at some point you're still like to serve or protect, and you're still trying to figure out, like, do you uphold order when that order has such a dark price or not, etc. So there are definitely some real interesting directions we can take that one, but I wanna revisit it later, because I do kind of want to run it, but yeah, I want to take a different approach with that particular storyline. But there's multiple storylines that you can do with the God Machine, of course, and the one that I'm offering on Start Playing is more of a row fight the power. You're going to start out very local, very just working in a school, dealing with stuff in your local neighborhood. But from there, it's going to expand to a full worldwide thing. And you really do, if somebody wants the chance to look the God Machine right in its gears and just say "fuck you," no, that's the campaign for them. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a few players on that one and having some fun with it. Let's see. You can take big portions, but make the government a bit more authoritarian. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's some approaches. There's some approaches that I can take, and but again, I need to take some time with that one. There's another one that's more of a a road trip approach to the God Machine, which I think I might also start offering. And that one is going to be kind of a monster of the week type of thing. But also at that point, I'm also just thinking of maybe just running monster of the week of the game. So that's another one that I should get more familiar with them, because I do like that game. I had fun the times I've run it. So I got so many ideas for different games that I want to run, and I really should post them up, because if I don't post them up, then nobody's going to sign up for them, and then no money. And no money makes Dan sad. Let's look at the last character sheet. We've been at this for an hour now, and I think we've gone through 3 pages. Cool. I like my chances here. Let's see. I haven't even gotten to the part of the book that I bookmarked yet. We're going to have to fly through some of this later. I mean, I'm not going to go through every single I am going to go through a lot of details, though, because I'm enjoying this. Look, that's to the makers of Penumbra City. So far, I'm liking the themes of the game. I'm enjoying this. I want to get to the rest of it. So, the last character class. Let's go. Okay, buckle in. Yeah, I got it. Let's see. The orphans, Rat Kings. The orphans who live in the shadow of the silver are damn strange. The Rat Kings are the damn strangest of them. They eat mushrooms that let them commune with rats, who swarm over them like living armor and attack their enemies. Okay, that's cool. I do love me a good swarm type character. A lot of my favorite games, like I think Heart has the ones that you're basically a living hive of bees, stuff like that. So I do like swarm characters. We'll see how that's approached. Also, gross. All right, so let's talk about the factions. I'm not going to read everything here. We're going to go over them real quick. So the Revolutionists, there's 3 factions, right? They did mention this. The Revolutionists, the Bulwark, and the Reasonable. The Revolutionists are mostly what you're going to be playing as, although I think there are some that fall under the Reasonable. But the Revolutionists, so the Revolutionists, they don't agree on a lot of things, but they agree on one big important thing. Having a God King who rules everyone is a bad idea. The coalition arose after years of work by the Ireni Federation and others to build bridges between anarchists, Republicans, secret societies, labor unions, and others. So the Ireni Foundation, the people, and the various groups of revolutionists are sort of that left-wing bloc, that organization of people who not necessarily agree a lot on the details of what they're trying to do, but they at least all agree the system needs to fucking change. And that's what you as a player are mostly going to be doing. Let's see. Methinks they're reasonable will not live up to their namesake. No, I believe you're right, Struggle Bus. They are the centrists. Centrists. Let's see. Revolutionists. So we've got a few. We've got the children, who probably are basically, if you're a Rat King, you're probably associated with the children. The Corsori, those are the knights, generation back anarchist refugees from the country Sor, poured into the South Docks, bringing centuries of tradition and culture as well as a penchant for smuggling and revolution. Which, yeah, is one thing that you don't really get from the initial description of the Corsorian knights, where they just mention that they're very stoic and whatnot. They're also big on smuggling, weirdly enough. They're like paladins. They're like smuggler paladins. We'll get to that very soon. The Dog Girls are the Dog Girls. They fix and ride bikes. They sing opera. They've got one life to live, and it probably wasn't going to be very long anyway. Yeah. The Ireni Federation. This is just the general group. The Fraternal and Sororal Order of the Gaslampers. So the Gaslampers are, of course, the middle class cosplayers who are actually a little bit more than just cosplayers, right? They're actually getting some shit done. So good on them. I thought at first that the Gaslampers were going to fall under the Reasonable, but no, they're more revolutionists, so I dig them. But props to the Gaslampers. The Hermetic Order of Nothing. These are great. I love these guys. These are the I believe it's the no. Is it the ex-Marines? I think it's the ex-Marines that fall under that. But they are basically... No. The Hermetic Order of Nothing, no. Those are going to be the occultists. Yeah, I think those are going to be the occultists. Yeah, they were secret. These days there isn't a party worth going to without a seance run by someone who can walk the astral plane and speak with the dead. So the Order finds itself with more and more influence and allies. So, okay, those are the wizards. Industrial Workers of Harrow, so that's the Union. And of course, the Union, the thugs, the labor thugs. The Outsiders, those are going to be your gunslingers. And the Royal Veterans against everything. Those are the power armor folks. No one hates the war more than those who fought in it. The RVAE, Royal Veterans against everything, I fucking love it, are nihilist saboteurs, dead set on destroying the war machine and not too concerned with who will get hurt in the process. Yeah, these are the ones that they say, like, yeah, they're gonna get shit done. They don't care if they blow up half the city to do it, which not the best approach in real life, but probably a lot of fun to play. Then we got the various factions of the Bulwark. If you ask them, they're the only thing standing between the people of Penumbra City and chaos, anarchy, and death. The Bulwark includes the church, the military, the elite, and a few gangs who support them in their mission of maintaining the status quo and winning the war. So these are the conservatives. This is a conservative party. You got the Royal Army, you've got the Church of Ath, you've got the Silver, so these are basically like the high society living up in the city, and the Gloaming, who are the ones that are down in the city with you. The Shadow. The Shadow is kind of also what they call the part of Penumbra City that is literally under the shadow of the Silver. The Shadow is ruled by the king beneath the king and a small private army that guards the city from the horrors of the Undercity below. So these are interesting because they're kind of local cops, but they're also like, again, they're a private army. They're not necessarily even though they fall into the Bulwark, they're not necessarily owned by the government. They're a private army that seems to be dedicated to mostly fighting the Undercity below, but I'm curious to see if we get to find out more about these guys as we go. And then the Lampreymen, the Rothian immigrants maintaining the loyalty to Roth, Ath's closest ally, and run most of the fishing industry in Penumbra City out of the South Dock. So I'm guessing these guys are kind of a foil to the Smuggler Knights. We'll see how that goes as well. And then there's the Reasonable. Let's see, traditional power players in society. Yeah, pretty much. The Reasonable present themselves as neutral, but most are actually on their own side, the side of capital and private property. No matter what happens in the current struggle, they hope to come out ahead. Other factions, though, just wish all the fighting would stop. So you got the Devils. So the Devils are your basic... These are your sock dems. These are your socialist Democrats. These are a fraternal lodge in the South Docks that is far more concerned with charity work, running orphanages, and living middle-class lives than fighting for territory. The Devils drape their reasonably mundane and peaceful existence with a veil of ritual and secrecy. There's the Esteemed, a loose federation of smugglers in the North Docks. Though these are basically like art and drug smugglers who have just enough power to sort of be a faction up in the North Docks. The Goetic Lodge, the single most feared. These are the edgelords. These are demon summoners, or people who want to be demon summoners and like the cachet that comes with that. The Lords of the New Order. This is your local business group. These are the ones that, Association of Business Leaders, who are also, organized crime in everything but name, and they want to be able to bring people to spend money again. They want to focus. They're capitalists, just pure capitalists. And then the Skips, who it's weird that they're in the Reasonable, but I guess they're just trying to survive. A youth gang that trades in information and offers guide services throughout the city. I think these fall under the Reasonable just because they're not in the fight. They're just trying to survive, and they wish they didn't have to deal with it. So that's what I'm guessing with the Skips is going to happen. But those are the three factions. And again, you as player characters are mostly going to be revolutionists. There's the districts of the city. So after all that setting, about all this world, the war, then we're just focusing on the districts of Penumbra City itself. Didn't forget the libertarians in this one, exactly. Let's see here. The city is roughly divided into various districts, some of which are dominated by a single faction, some of which are heavily contested. I'm not going to read all of these out, but you can get them. But basically, the few that the Dead Quarter. This is basically where the graveyard, half forest, half graveyard, is where the Outsiders live, and also where the best parties and shows happen. There's the Iron Quarter. That's the industrial area of the city. The North Docks, working class area, sailors, merchants, and of course the Esteemed doing their smuggling up top. We've got the South Docks, which is of course maintained by the Lampreymen. We've got the Shadow, that's the area beneath the Silver, technically off limits, but that doesn't stop anybody. Forever dark, trash heap for the rich, fungus grows everywhere. Adventure. We've got Penumbra North, north of Shadow. Pious and loyal make their homes. This is the middle class area. This is probably where most of the reasonable live. Penumbra South. Abandoned mansions and row homes. This is the most hotly contested area of the city. This is where you go to fight. Scavengers raid the wall of trash that surrounds the Shadow and fight over territory. Cool, cool, cool. The Plaza, that's the neutral zone. That's going to be probably where your home base is. This is ruled by the Areni Foundation. And also is the it's got theaters, rooftop gardens, and the sewers beneath it hold the Clacker Network, a decentralized difference engine, which I'm excited to read more about. Do they have a map, or is Penumbra City an amorphous blob of geography just described by the districts? I believe they do have. Let me see if I believe they do. For Soup for Revolution, there's your character sheet. Let's see. Sample character sheet, actual character sheet. Do we have a map? I think we do at some point. Vaguely. I may have to simply run into the map eventually. Because I think there is. I think there is a map. I vaguely remember having seen it. There's angels, vampires, god kings. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see. You know, I think we'll just, if we get to it and see it, then we will. But at the moment, somewhere in here. That's the problem sometimes with having the physical book instead of the PDF. I should probably just download the PDF. I will eventually. All right, Old Town, right? Old Town. So this Old Town is the underworld. This is, or rather, this is the first part before the Undercity. So if you want to do some dungeon delving, good old classic dungeon delving in this game, don't worry, we got you covered. The Outs, middle-class suburb full of parks and row homes and secret societies. That's probably where the gas lampers are. And then the Silver, the floating, thousands of feet above the city. Silver is full of the rich and powerful merchant lords and priests. Not a lot of adventures going to take place up there, but it would be interesting to explore. And I wonder if the book will give us. I mean, we see angels and stuff. I'm assuming at some point you can assault Silver and try and take down the God King. I'm curious to see if we get there. It's fine if there isn't one. Just one of those makes sense to put next to the description. Yes, no, it would. I fully agree that like here, look at this. This would have been perfect for a map, I think. So kind of a shame that it's not there. Good point. Then again, I guess theater of the mind so much, but also I would have liked a map. All right, so how to play. All this stuff is just like what is tabletop. Yeah, what the players and game masters do. We can kind of skip a lot of this, and let's go straight to game mechanics. So create a character looks fairly easy. You pick a class, you read, you basically figure out what the character is and the factions. You get your ability scores, which we'll talk about in a second. Roll your hit points, name your character, get your equipment, pick an extra language, and then think about who they are and discuss how they know the other characters in the party. So that's basically just background stuff. That's it. It's pretty straightforward. It's not a lot. Like the characters have a lot of things they can do, but there's not a lot of stuff to pick through at first. And we'll get to that shortly. So ability scores. This game only has 4 of them. So you've got strength, speed, will, and knowledge, and they go from 1 to 18. You'll be rolling 3d6s. We'll get to those shortly. We got strength, which is physical might, the fighting with certain weapons, defending against certain attacks, performing athletic acts, resisting. So basically, strength and constitution kind of rolled up into one as strength. Speed is your dexterity and movement, but also kind of your wits. Character's quick thinking and action. Use a determined battle order, fight with certain weapons, defend against certain attacks, operate some devices. Determine how quickly a character moves away from danger. So so dexterity, movement, and wits kind of all represented under speed. It's pretty direct. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty straightforward. Will. So will is kind of your personality / willpower / charisma. So will's character for personality, willpower, convince, intimidate, defend against compulsion, and it's also the last 2, will and knowledge, are both kind of like magic stats. So they come into play when you're using like mycomancy and whatnot. Will is sort of like charisma / willpower, while knowledge is more like intelligence. So character's ability to know things, figure things out, solving puzzles, tracking down information or creatures, noticing things that other places are hidden, understanding how to make and fix machines. Weirdly enough, this one's weird. I would have thought that would have fallen under speed, but I guess not. Knowledge can also be used to hide. and knowledge is used for some hermetic magic or mycomancy. So that's interesting, that knowledge is your stealth skill. I'm not sure how I feel about that approach, but there it is. There it is. Let's see here. What the hell? Sorry, I'm just getting weird messages. Oh, no, never mind. Ignore that. All right, and yeah, so those are your 4 stats. Just 4 stats, not a full 6 stat thing. Still very D&D like in the range. And I think we're gonna skip ahead real quick just to how do you determine them. So you've got a couple of ways. So basically, you can see what the ability scores are. From a 5 is pretty bad to an 18, which is prodigious, an 11 or even a 13 is already considered expert, a 15 is considered world class in that. And you determine your scores either by rolling, and I think rolling is, roll 3d6 and add, you do that 5 times and you drop the lowest. And if you don't get any score that is 12 or higher, then you discard the whole thing and re-roll again, roll 5, discard the lowest, and then spread those out. Or you just have a standard array. You just have a 7, a 9, an 11, and a 13, and you assign those out to your 4 stats as it makes sense for your character class. So again, pretty straightforward. The numbers feel low, especially considering how the actual game system goes. So these 2 pages, we're going to hang out a little bit here because there's a lot to learn here. But at the same time, I like that the bulk of the system is here. It's basically this page and this section for ability checks, because ability checks are 99% of what you're going to be doing. And the core mechanic is, again, an ability check rolled with a d20. It's a roll under system, which lower numbers for ability checks are better than high numbers. Anytime a player wants to perform an action with a chance of failure, shooting someone with a gun, jumping from a moving horse, dodging the swing of a sword, and this is a game also where the GM very rarely rolls, so you as a player would roll to attack, you would also roll to dodge. I as a GM would not roll to attack you, you as a player would roll to dodge. You roll a d20. If the number is equal to or lower than the relevant ability score, the check succeeds. So pretty straightforward. You don't really have skills. You do have proficiencies later on, but it's kind of special. But there isn't like don't roll me your hiding skill or your perception skill or your whatever. You roll the appropriate ability that would match the action that you're trying to do. But based on, and we'll get to proficiency shortly and how that affects. But by default, you're just rolling your ability, and so you want to roll low. So if you have a strength of 13, for example, and you're trying to break down a door, and that's another interesting thing. There isn't like a difficulty slider by default, but there is, and we'll get to that very shortly with the advantage and disadvantage. But by default, any feat of strength, you just want to roll under your strength. So if my strength is 13, for example, I would roll a d20, and that was a bad roll. That was an 18. I did not make it. So we got 5. There we go. That was a good roll. So that 5 would, get me through. And if you roll a 1, that's an excessive success. If you roll a 20, that's the strings attached. We'll get to those again very shortly as well. But the main sort of way to make things easier or harder is advantage and disadvantage dice. So you might either roll with advantage dice or disadvantage dice due to circumstances. Each advantage dice is an initial d20 the player rolls. The player keeps only the lowest/best result. Disadvantage dice work in the inverse. The player rolls additional dice but keeps only the highest/worst result. That's, again, pretty straightforward. Let's see, that's a choice. There's stealth of movement, which is like planning where you go, but not how you do it. So Dex, agility, coordination is a social stealth, i.e. deception. Right? It is. It's interesting. Hopefully we'll see in the game maybe how that's meant to apply, because so far the only reference to like hiding or stealth is in knowledge, which is a weird approach. So one thing with advantage, and I like this approach here. So if you have advantage dice on an attack roll, you have a choice to make. Before you roll that attack, that would have been a good one, I got a 13. Before you roll that attack, you decide whether you are adding the advantage dice to the attack roll or to the damage roll. You have to decide that before you roll. If you add it to your attack roll, then you just roll 2d20 and take the best result. Both of those would have missed. Or if you're doing to damage, then you roll to hit as normal. Jesus Christ, I'm rolling very poorly for this game. You attack as normal, and then if you hit, you add those advantage die as extra damage, which is cool. I kind of like that you as a player have that option, because, and also that sometimes, like, a lot of these games, like, you get advantage on, especially games like this where you roll attack and damage separately. One of my long-time annoyances on that, right, is that you might get advantage on a hit and then roll very poorly on damage. And that can still happen here, but if you have advantage, you can maybe make it so that, and you already know you got a good chance to hit, then you can pour that extra effort into damage and make that advantage actually matter to you. So I do dig that. And yeah, proficiency might come into play there, I guess, as well. Good point. So I do like that little twist of advantage in combat, where you do get to choose whether you want to put it to damage or to hit. And then excessive successes. So a natural roll of 1. Here we go. So on a nat 1, player succeeds excessively. In combat, you might do double damage or hit 2 opponents at once, or have some other strange beneficial occurrence occur at the GM's discretion. For example, they might stab with their spear and skewer their opponent, but also prevent another opponent from swinging their axe. So basically, success plus, you'll get something cool. With certain game effects, excessive success might include specific outcomes that are listed with the effect. So also some specific abilities might have something special that happens on a nat 1, but that is your critical hit and critical success, and it seems to apply to basically all rolls. And then there's strings attached, and this one's interesting because it's kind of your crit fail. If you roll a nat 20, that was not a nat 20, there we go. If you were to roll a nat 20 like I just did, you technically succeed. Even though it's sort of the worst roll you could have made, you do succeed in what you were trying, but with strings attached. A player might dodge an attack only to fall down a flight of stairs, or intimidate a bartender into giving up information but anger her friends enough that they wait outside with knives. It is up to the GM to determine the strings attached. With certain devices such as firearms, explosives, or steam-powered vehicles, the strings attached might include catastrophic failure, which is covered under each weapon and vehicle entry. So again, some things might have special catastrophic things, but I like that it's like, okay, cool, nat 20, fuck. So you still get what you were going after, but there's gonna be a big consequence. I like that better than just like extra fail. Not only did you fail to do the thing, but also your ass is on fire. It's like, no, I like that. It's like, all right, your ass is about to be on fire, but you did grab the jewel of Flarbenar. So I do like that. I like that approach better. Because it moves the story along. I generally just don't like things that are just like straight up pass fail. Like even a failure on a roll should lead to more story. In this system, that's not 100%, because if I just fail a roll, well, then it didn't happen. Just I failed. There's no thing extra to that. I mean, it's on me and the GM to do that, but I prefer systems that have that built in a little bit more. So we'll see how that goes. But I do like this version of crit fail, where you still get what you were going after, but in the getting of it, shit goes off the rails. So I do kind of like, yeah, it's a different take on the fail forward mentality, at least for this one specific result. So not too bad. And so here's where proficiency takes it. So. And it's an interesting approach here as well. It says, characters should be good at the things that they are good at, which 100% agreed. And I like what they do here. If a character is trained in something and they fail an ability check to do that thing, it might just take that character longer to accomplish the task, or perhaps they don't do a great job. A GM could also grant advantage dice to players to perform the tasks in which they are particularly versed. So if you are proficient in something, if you're really good at lockpicking or something, it makes more sense that even if you roll and you fail the roll, that one would have succeeded. That was a 7. Let's see. That's a 3. Now I'm rolling well, right? Jesus. Come on. There we go. 16. Probably a failure. But it's something that I'm proficient in, something that I'm supposed to be good at, then I do it anyway. Maybe it took me longer. Maybe that should have taken only 1 minute. And it took 5. So now we're a little bit more stressed. The guards will show up at any moment. Yeah, but again, you do fail forward. You do move forward. I do like that because it's really embarrassing when you're like, especially like when you are doing something that your character's supposed to be good at, you fail, and then somebody else in the party who normally sucks or has the same skill at like a lower level or something rolls and then they make it. Look, I get it. Okay, that can happen in the real world and everything, but it kind of sucks. Kind of sucks as a player. So I like that. That's less of a problem here with this proficiency approach. That said, I don't know how proficiency is handled. This is a thing you get probably like as we progress. Yeah, it looks like you can get more proficiencies. Actually, there's an interesting learning process for that. We'll get to that shortly. But that's how proficiency is. So it's a little wibbly wobbly, but I'd have to see in practice how that works. Let's go ahead and see. And then the other two are just some general guidelines. Difficulty within reason just basically means, hey, no matter if you've got a strength of 18 and you roll the nat 1, you're probably not going to be able to like lift a boulder that's bigger than you are. Like certain things are going to be impossible no matter what the dice say. So that's basically the difficulty within reason. Same thing with setting difficulty. So basically, since you can't say since your difficulty for a roll, your target number is always your stat, your ability score. In order to make something easier or harder as the GM, I have to add in advantage or disadvantage dice to a roll to reflect that, which is kind of wild, because even just going to a single disadvantage die already can make things like it's a real big, I feel like, ramp up in difficulty, because you can add multiple disadvantages, unlike games like D&D and most games that have advantage or disadvantage, where mostly it's just you ever only really have either advantage or disadvantage, and if you have multiple sources of advantage and disadvantage going, they'll just kind of cancel each other out. If there are more advantages and disadvantages, then you have one advantage. Or if there are more disadvantages than advantages, then you just have disadvantages. Here you can have multiple advantages, multiple disadvantages. And I think that's, again, I'd have to look at the math, but that seems like a wild difficulty spike. Even just a single disadvantage dice can really change the odds there. So I'm curious. I could probably pull up the browser now and play with that, but I'm not going to. Just let's keep in mind that is how this game handles setting difficulty. Let's see, catching up with chat again. In the scenario, it almost walks the line of why are you making this person roll? I know it's trying to make competence important as a key feature, but at the same time, you say the thing is done and move on to the next part of the story. Fair, exactly. And I think like I would personally house rule it that if you are like what's it? I think in World of Darkness, I don't know if New World of Darkness or Chronicles or whatever it is now has that, but you can sort of, quote unquote, take a 10, which basically just means like assume I rolled this default roll, and if that would have been a success, then I do it at a basic level. So I would kind of house rule something like that, where if you're proficient at something, I will let you do this at a very basic level. So going with that lockpick example, I would say if you want to do this fast, I'm going to need you to roll. If you just want to say that it's done because you are a lockpicker, you are let's say you're a dog girl and you're good at breaking into locks and breaking into machinery, then if you don't want to roll, no worries, but it's going to take you about 5 minutes. But if you roll, then you can try and do this faster, right? You can try and get it done within a minute, so you can just get in and out quick. If you don't want to roll, it's going to take about 5. If you fail the roll, it's still going to take about 5. And you might roll a critical success, and it's on your right. At that point, it's your choice. Like, all right, we can wait 5 minutes. Somebody just keep an eye out while I do this, and depending on the adventure, then I'll go, okay, cool, you get it done, or as it's finishing, you start hearing the approach of approach of guards or whatever. Depends on the situation, but I think that's mostly how I would handle it. And it's the player's choice whether A, they want to speed up, and B, whether they want to take the risk of maybe rolling a 20 and getting it done quick, but also the guards found them, or whatever. But I like kind of giving it, letting that choice be the players. Some good old 3.5 stuff. Is that really how? It's been so long. It's been so long. But again, I think that's how I would approach that anyway. All right, so then the rest is just like when to roll, just basic tabletop RPG stuff. But I think we get the drill of the basic ability scores and how we do this. NPCs, we know what NPCs are. So time is also interesting because the game is basically the game gives you 3 modes, sort of. It goes, gameplay is generally divided into 3 types of time: calm, tension, and combat. Up to the GM to determine what time it is. So, if it's calm, that's your basic, like, we're just hanging out, we're in our hangout, we're in our hideout, we're out on the streets, when it's calm and you're just kind of generally role-playing, there's probably not going to be a lot of rolling. Most role-playing happens during calm, in which characters are unhurried. Routine actions don't require an ability check during calm. Character can translate from language they know, perform a ritual they're familiar with, climb over a fence, swim. So basically just your regular everyday navigation through town. You're not being chased, etc., etc. Tension. Tension describes moments when things could change quickly, when characters are in a hurry or are doing something high stakes, like trying to intimidate a guard into letting them through a gate, or trying to disarm a bomb. Tension is time when mistakes matter more and when players should be more wary of interactions that can escalate into combat. During tension, many more actions require ability checks. Translating that text or climbing that fence is a lot riskier when you can't take your time. Blah, 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 blah. And then combat. When combat breaks out, gameplay becomes turn-based. Most actions require ability checks. So it's interesting because most games just have either calm and combat. I like that this is more formalized a little, in that in calm it's very much meant to be you're probably not going to roll. It's just pure storytelling because there's no rush. There's less pressure, and then tension is when if you're making rolls, you're making ability rolls, it's probably because there's tension. If there's no tension, then you probably shouldn't be making rolls. You should just be telling the story. I kind of like that approach. Let's see. I would hope you know the basic of tabletop RPGs by now. Well, we've been playing them for decades. Yeah, true. But again, the thing with a lot of games is that you almost have to spend some time explaining again what combat is, what theater of the mind is, what initiative is, and stuff like that, because you always have to sort of assume that the person picking up the book might not know all this stuff. And I've seen some games that go like, hey, here's a URL or something. This is what tabletop RPGs are in general. Come back here when you know the lingo. But by default, you do kind of have to like cover this stuff the first time. Also, and as a player, as a GM, you have to read it because every now and then the game will hide something in its definition of initiative that you're like, well, fuck, that actually changes the way the whole game plays, you know? So yeah, for sure it needs to be there for anyone who hasn't been involved now. Exactly. And again, because even if you have been, you do have to check because you never know, like if there was maybe something special. Like for example, it's not a hard and fast rule, but that sort of definition of like when in calm, you probably don't roll, even for things that you might think would require a roll, you probably don't, because there's less of that tension and pressure. I do like that's formalized a little here. Let's see. So combat is primarily theater of the mind. So we're not doing grids and ranges and stuff, which is cool. I mean, we do have ranges: close, nearby, distant, far away. Again, standard sort of theater of the mind stuff. Initiative is made. Every character does a speed check at the start of combat. Those who pass the check go before their opponents for each round of that combat, while those who fail the check go after their opponents. NPCs that are allied with the player characters go at the very end of the round. After player characters have failed their speed checks, characters in each section can decide amongst themselves who goes when. So it's... Cat, would you stop? My cat is down there. She's clawing my things. So... yeah, safety features like Session 0, X cards, slides, and veils need to be there. And actually, yeah, I haven't seen any mention of safety. Let me see, maybe in the how to play. Let me see, do players might choose to take on responsibilities. James writing. Okay, so, no, this is modules, planning sessions. So they do give some basic advice. Like, yeah, GM is not trying to win against the players. Yeah, some general advice. Starting a new campaign. Okay, maybe. Dude, I'm curious. I'm curious about, yeah. So they do kind of say, yeah. Okay, so there's a mention of a quote unquote session 0 game session that is just planning, talk the whole thing over. Good time for players to come up with ideas. Interesting. Yeah, so they do mention kind of a session 0 and they do some lip service, but yeah, there isn't a lot of specific mention of safety tools. This game is fairly recent, right? This was done in, let's see, copyright. When is this license? 2024, yeah. So kind of surprising that there's little to no mention of safety tools at first glance. Interesting. It is, by the way, this game is ORC licensed, Open Gaming ORC license. So that's cool. That's why I'm not too worried about kind of showing it as we go. Even though, again, this is all very much covered by fair use right now, as we're just examining. But also, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's a balance of some old school and some more modern stuff. But I am a little surprised, mildly disappointed that there's not that much reference, especially considering that this game does deal with some rough topics, and they do make a point earlier of like sort of stating. Yeah, basically stating that, hey, you need to come in here with the kind of mindset, this kind of revolutionary mindset into this game, and this mutual aid and stuff. So yeah, a little bit of a stumble there, I think, not having more. Although again, maybe later in the book, but usually that stuff is covered. Usually that stuff is covered earlier, like as you're during the initial game setup, rather than leaving it for later for a DM section or anything like that. Which I don't. A lot more information on the various factions back there. Who is who? Yeah, a lot of this. So it looks like later on. Okay, actually no. I'm gonna have to go through because there's like bestiary, there's weapons, but then there's setting. So the organization on this is a little weird. Again, we'll get diversity. Anyway, we'll get to it as we go. But yeah, weird on the lack of. And yes, good avoiding any wizards BS. Yeah, no, this is completely. They're not even using the OGL. They're using the ORC license, which is good. Generally considered to be good. Let's see, where are we at? Just checking. How long are we in? An hour and a half? Not too shabby. All right. We'll keep. What time is it? It is 4:17 p.m. All right. Tell you what. I'm going to take a very quick break. I think I'm going to take a 5-minute break to get some water, rest my voice a little, and then I'll come back. We are, well, hey, we'll come back and we can actually, let's take a proper look at combat, because combat is important, right? Combat's going to be important. So I'm going to go ahead and take a very quick break, get some water. Thank you so much. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the hydrate. I actually do have some water here behind me. There we go. Close up on that yum water. And I will be back in 5 minutes. I don't know if I have a music for the Be Right Back screen, but I'm going to put the Be Right Back screen anyway on. And again, I will be back in 5 minutes or so. All right, nerds, start your nerdgens. We're back to the thing. Let's see here. Thank you for following, by the way. I'm talking to the camera, which faithfully chases me around because technology. All right, let's continue with the book now that we're back. And thank you, by the way, to anybody who's watching both live. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful top of my head. Thank you for anyone watching both live and post recorded. Cool. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and change over to the screen here, and let's continue with our just overview, a little bit of Penumbra City. I think we're going to get very shortly to a part, like, I'm not going to go over every enemy. I'm not going to read the stats on every single thing. We'll probably just skip around once we get to the rest of the book, like equipment, the different we'll probably like take a closer look at one or two sub factions each just to see. But all this stuff, yeah, all the like the history and stuff, we're not going to read all that, right? That's you buy the book if you would like that. Again, recommended. So far, I'm enjoying this. Hey, look, a note from the creators. Interesting. We'll read that when we get there. But I think this is just based on the on the setting here. I think that one might be worth reading if we get to it today. But at least this stuff, system stuff and class stuff, like, yeah, you want to kind of dive into this, right? Because this is stuff you're going to be interacting with. This is stuff that you want to see if, in fact, gets you pumped up to play the game. As a nerd and Formula One fan, you are here for nerd engines. Excellent. All right, let's see. So combat, again, it's a theater of the mind kind of vibe. Initiative is a little wibbly, which I like, honestly, better than certain. Sometimes I like a flexible initiative and a fairly simple. So you make a speed check. If you pass a check, you go before the bad guys. If you fail the check, you go after the bad guys. NPCs that are on your side always go last after everything else, after players have failed their speed checks. If you are going before the bad guys, then the players decide amongst themselves who it makes more sense should go first, which I love, because one of my annoyances with some more strict initiative things is when, like, I'm playing, a character that their actions are best taken after later in the round, and you make the mistake of rolling well, and now you have to declare. And then there's the other systems, like, okay, sidebar. Hey, hi, I do that. I go on tangents, but like World of Darkness, I like the idea behind, like, everybody rolls initiative, and it is like per result you determines the order you will act, but also the further you're supposed to describe your actions and then resolve in reverse. Like, the person who technically goes last in the round is supposed to say, okay, I want to do X. And then the person who goes next after that goes, okay, based on that, I want to do Y. And then the person who goes after, who goes before them goes, well, based on that and that, I want to do W. And so forth and so on, all the way back, so that the first person to act was the last person to see what everybody else was going to do and makes their decision based on that, therefore potentially ruining the round for everyone else coming after them. There's a reason I think, like, most games of World of Darkness that I've played, and to be fair, big fan of Fandible.com, one of the oldest running tabletop RPG podcasts on the internets. We kind of just do what we want with the rules for most games. We're not great. We're not the podcast you listen to if you're trying to stay true to the rules. And I think in every World of Darkness game we've done, we just take our turns, and whoever's supposed to go first goes first, and then their actions are now canon. But technically, that's how you're supposed to resolve it, which I appreciate the concept, but in practice, slows down what's already very slow combat in World of Darkness, right? Oh, hey! Thank you for checking that the bot still works. Always pleasantly surprised to find out that the bot is still alive and working, because I haven't touched that thing in ages. So good. Yes, defendable.com. I need to put in a few more now, like a ProGM thing and whatnot. Now that I'm going to be doing, but I guess I have the time for this now, right? I definitely have the time. All right, so initiative, cool. I like it overall. It's got, to me, the right kind of wibbly wobbly, where there is still like a random element to it, where you roll to see if you go before or after the enemies, which is really the thing that matters most. Do you get to act before or after the people that are trying to punch you in the face? I think it's the most important thing for initiative 2. By the way, apologies if there is, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Hopefully that hasn't been rubbing up against the mic too much. But also, I assume you would have told me if that was happening. But also, apologies if there are clanging sounds or anything. Like there are literally giant metal plates being clanged down outside my window because I live in New York City. But that also, the clanging of those metal plates is like music to me, because it means they're fucking done for the day. Those of you who have seen me back in the days, back in those early days when I was streaming the video games, which I'm probably going to still do on a semi-regular basis as well. But for these streams, I'm trying to the intention is to work more efficiently. And the sad part is, even with all the digressions, including this one, it's still working, because this is still, I think, further along. And actually, no, I had already gotten to the character. Haven't even gotten as far as I'd gotten. I think I'd gotten to the Corsorian Knight. But we're doing a lot better work. I just kind of glossed over this stuff the first round, so this is kind of making me take this more seriously, which is great. So even though it's not exactly working with the efficiency, it's working for the motivation. All right, I'm getting stuff done. We can use some of this. And also, this is all recorded on YouTube. So content, boom, done. We are making it. The cat in your lap hasn't freaked out about it. Cool. Okay. Oh, so okay. Cool. So some of it is coming through, which is not surprising. And apologies for anyone listening to it. But again, New York City. Hopefully, though, it means this is ending up. And if not, you know what? Actually, wait. Give me a second. Bear with me. I'm going to mute my microphone for a second so as not to blow out everybody's ear. There we go. I'm less worried about it now, because the cable on my headphones kept like rubbing and bumping up against the mic that I have here. You can't really see it in the tiny window. Never mind. It wants my face. It wants nothing but my face. But anyway, point is, I can put it here. That's the one. Highly recommend, by the way, the Hollyland Lark Max. These are amazing little wireless mics. I absolutely love them. But anyway, point is, it was bumping against that. Now it won't do that. You're welcome. Right. So anyway, point is, I like this. I like this. You use the dice to determine whether you get punched or punch first. But then within the punchies, you are still working within your group. So, you know, the person who needs to do their thing after your thing can just tell you that, and that's fine. It's not some weird like, oh, can I hold my action kind of thing. Cool. I like it. Let's see here. Round. So combat is divided into rounds in which every participant has a chance to act in turn. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So you define a round as about 10 seconds, although again, this is an abstraction. Good. Always remember that it is an abstraction. It takes as long as it takes. Let's see, surprise. So during calm or tension, character who initiates combat may make a speed check. Also, there's an actual mechanic to try and surprise. Interesting, I like that. So during calm or tension, a character who initiates combat may make a speed check to see if they are able to attack unexpectedly. This check is not from the character's roll to attack, but a roll to see if they can. So you can roll to surprise. So it's less about Okay, I kind of dig that. Roll to surprise. Let's see. Only one character can do this, and doing so will generally escalate calm or tension into combat. Yeah, fair enough. The check fails, no action is taken before initiative is rolled per usual. If the check succeeds, the player successfully surprises the opponent and can make an attack before initiative is rolled. They receive an advantage die on the attack. So if you're going to attack anyway, right? It sounds like, based on this mechanic, that if you're going to do an attack, there is no downside. If the check fails, no action is taken before initiative is rolled as per usual. So there really is no downside. If you just are going to go ahead and say, I want to stab this dude in the face, you should always, try and make it a surprise. Try and make it a surprise attack. There's literally, I mean, I guess the risk is that if you're rolling a speed check, like that would have been an excellent, like that would have been a 2, so that probably would have succeeded, and a 1 would have been amazing. But if you had rolled, there's the chance that you roll a 20, and if you roll a 20, then you still get to go first, but something horrible happens. So I guess there is I guess you gotta weigh the probably over 50% chance of getting in a free hit with the 5% chance that you'll still get in a free hit, but it's gonna make something else suck. So while there is a slight downside, a very low downside, a 5% downside, like it feels like it's even then you still get that free hit. Like you should always just roll for surprise. Again, based on what I'm seeing here. Tell me if I'm wrong. If the GM is attempting to surprise the PCs, then the GM must pick a single character to target and will ask them to roll a speed check. On a failure, the PC is surprised. If the GM is using an attack that affects more than one character, then all affected characters make speed checks and those who fail are surprised. If the PC is surprised, the affected players roll to defend with a disadvantage die. For example, okay, so basically that's a surprise attack from the GM side. Interesting. Okay. And that works because, again, in this system, the GM almost never rolls. So if I want to do a surprise, I ask you, who I'm attacking, to make a speed check to not be surprised. Cool. All right. Yeah, straightforward enough, I guess. Let's see. Ranges. Okay, so it's just, general, close, nearby, distant, far away. That's pretty common and straightforward for a theater of the mind combat. Nothing weird there. Yeah, exactly. And so the ability, vehicle, and weapon descriptions will reference these sort of general ranges. Okay, and then turns. So, okay, what do you get to do in a turn? You get one main action, one move action, and any number of free actions. Cool. So main action is going to be stuff like attacking, the main thing that you do on your turn. So attacking, reloading, most class abilities, includes making one attack or using one ability. Doing complex stats would also use up a main action. So yeah, best judgment, but it's your main thing that you do, including your attack. You have a separate move action. And let's see, can you do, if your character, it would take character 2 move action. Okay, so you take a move action to change between ranges. Which is cool. That's fine. That's pretty normal. Forward actions too far away from where they started, right? A move action cannot generally be broken up. Character cannot move a little, perform a main action, then move again. However, a character may use free actions as part of their move action. For instance, a character could, as part of their move action, run towards a building, open the door, continue moving through the building, and then attack someone. Okay, so that's, again, fairly straightforward. Free actions. Alright, that's GM's discretion. Can include things like drawing or storing a weapon, picking up an object. So my only complaint, and it's not really a complaint, it's just because this is kind of universal in most RPGs, is that this is very... It's a hard thing to ask for more definition here, because these are still fairly wordy definitions while still leaving a lot up in the air, and that's just kind of the nature of it. Unless you already have a very tactical approach or a more D&D like 5e approach, and even there's always like, is this a free action? Is this a bonus action? Is this a main action? So it's a complicated thing no matter what. But this almost feels a little bit I don't know. I guess in practice, it probably doesn't matter that much, right? It's a lot of this stuff is instinctive, and with a good play group and a GM that knows what they're doing, most likely not going to be a problem to determine, the difference between a free action and a main action. But for example, in the very example they give in move actions, I can see GMs ruling it differently. Like a character could, as part of their move action, run towards a building, open the door, and then continue moving through the building and then attack someone. So it's saying the attack is your main action, opening the door is a free action. And you did the free action as part of your move action, which is cool. That's how I would rule it. This is my approach. But I can see GMs saying, even if the door isn't locked, saying that having to stop and open it, that's your action. And in fact, it's probably best that they use that example to make it clear that something like a basic opening a door is considered a free action, not a main action. But I can see that becoming a sticking point. I can see some GMs deciding, ruling that differently. So I'd be curious to see how that works out. I guess probably, hopefully during playtesting, didn't turn out to be as much of an issue as I'm making it here, and it probably isn't that much of an issue. I'm being nitpicky here about how much it feels like it's being left up to use common sense, even though I myself am a big proponent of, hey, use some goddamn common sense when it comes to a lot of tabletop RPG rules. Give me a second, I just disconnected my headphones. Fun. We're doing it live. Here we go. And the music is back. All right. Reactions, reactions. Every class has some kind of reaction ability that can be used once a round, but not on a character's turn, in response to some kind of triggering stimulus that is noted in the specific ability. For instance, a character's reaction ability might be triggered by being attacked, but not necessarily by being hit by an attack. Therefore, the player may assert that they are using their reaction when it has been declared that they are being attacked. Some equipment has features that can be used as reactions. The character can only make one reaction per round. For example, polearms have the reach feature, which allows the character as a reaction to make an attack. Interesting. So each character has a unique reaction ability that's theirs only. So it's not like there are basic reactions for everything, and they're different from free actions. But then some items or other abilities might also, but there'll be specific reactions based on the item or ability. Interesting. Okay. We'll see how that goes once we actually look at some items and abilities, right? Let's see. It feels like a 5e comparison at first glance, but there's rules lawyer territory. Exactly. That's the thing. Newer groups with that can get a little bit weird. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's probably not a problem, but coming from a point of view of like maybe you've got some 5e players, like looking at they're playing something different for the first time. I could see this tripping up some groups used to more definition, but that's probably going to be again a bit of a universal ding against most or a lot of theater of the mind kind of approaches versus that D&D more grid based approach. All right, let's see. Attacking. So attacks are made with weapons or unarmed strikes. To make an attack, character makes an ability check as determined by the weapon. Cool. Ability check is called an attack roll. In success, they hit their target and make a damage roll as determined by the weapon. Unarmed strikes attack with strength and do 1 damage. Okay. Players are encouraged to describe their actions. Basic. When attacking with an advantage dice, a character can, before rolling, assign this advantage dice right to attack or damage. We already saw that. Very cool. But otherwise, attacking is pretty straightforward. The dice you use is determined by the weapon on both the to hit and the damage. Easy enough. Using class abilities. An ability differentiated from an ability score. I feel like maybe you should have renamed. Again, you know what? This is, again, being nitpicky. Whatever. I'm going to take the name. The personal nitpick. I would have tried to use a different class powers or class talents or something like that. So when I go like, all right, make an ability check or make an ability roll, it doesn't present that confusion, especially to new players. Then they're looking at their abilities, their class abilities, instead of their ability scores. So yeah, that I would have definitely chosen a different name there. But hey, good. We'll keep that in mind, that we have ability scores and then abilities, which are the actual class abilities. So ability scores and class abilities. We use the two words each time so that we don't get confused. Their abilities are usually determined by the characters or classes NPCs. Stab block. Abilities can cause damage, prevent damage, cause and status to be applied to a character, or any number of other game effects, right? Well, but they can be used as main actions, free actions, reactions, or when a character is out of action. I know OOA means out of action. Did we... I don't think we've defined OOA before. Why am I being so nitpicky? I actually like this game, but I'm being weirdly nitpicky. I guess because I'm pouring through it now. But I know this is out of action. But this is, I think, the first time it's been mentioned in the book. And I don't think it's been properly defined. Just a quick, like, parentheses, out of action. Or, you know, see page whatever where you actually define out of action, which is here. So it's one page later, but again, the first reference to something being just its initials before the something is actually defined, without a link to where the something is defined. Why? I hate that I'm being nitpicky. I hate that I'm being so nitpicky. I think I'm peaking a little on my microphone. Can I? There we go. Is that better? Hopefully that's a little better. Yeah, I felt like I was peaking there. Anyway, let's see. Angela's editor notes have been living rent-free in your head. I see. Oi. Actually, Angela generally says that I'm the person out of all of us that she has to edit the least. So I take personal pride in that. But yeah, again, look, the people who wrote this book, what was his name? I'm going to butcher it again. No, I don't. Here we go. Inaman Neruin. No problem. I have no quarrel with you, Idmin. But Cassandra, I do have. I'm sorry, I do have a quarrel with you. They're minor quibbles. This is not ruining the game for me. I'm just being nitpicky for no good reason. Please ignore these criticisms, but also please note them down for the reprint or second edition of this game, should it ever come. Anyway, every ability is a little different, and we'll list. Okay, so point is, abilities are wild cards. Class abilities do what they do, and we'll find out what they do when we look at the class abilities. Pretty much straightforward. Okay, defending. Let's see. When a character is attacked. When a character is attacked, they can attempt to defend themselves by making an ability check called a defense roll. A player can make any number of defense rolls. Defending does not use a player's reaction. The ability score rolled for each defense roll is dictated by the type of attack. Most weapons are defended against with either speed or strength. Essentially, speed is used to dodge the attack, while strength is used to block it, or in the case of blowguns and vapors, resist its effect. Regardless of the outcome, a player is encouraged to describe their actions when they succeed or fail. Yes. So basically, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's like, okay, so you take a swing at the hideous monster. 5, that's a hit, cool. And this is my super sword, which does, because I'm not going to look for other dice, a d20's worth of damage against this kind of monster. Cool. Holy shit! Why don't I get these when I'm playing? 20 points of damage! The thing is on fire because my sword sets it on fire. I am not doing a good job of selling my professional GM services and not living up to my reviews, am I? Anyway, it's on fire, but as it falls back, it is not dead, and it lashes out at you with its fiery swords. Roll me speed or roll me to dodge. Or roll me to block strength, and you roll, and hey, that's a good roll. You did dodge. Anyway, my big monster is getting totally fucked in this example. To be fair, you don't have players to bounce energy off of. True. Also, I'm making shit up as I go along, but this is pretty straightforward. This is Numenera. This is, to me, games where the GM rolls are sort of the default. Games where the GM doesn't roll they're all Numenera to me. So this is now Numenera. This is Cypher System. That's how I'm choosing. This is how I'm choosing to perceive it. Once I'm in that mindset, okay, cool, I get it. The GM doesn't roll. When the monster attacks you, you roll to defend against it, which is interesting. And then I guess we'll see once we get to the bestiary. But I'm guessing particularly brutal monsters or particularly well armored monsters might inflict disadvantage dice on rolls against them. Rolls to defend against them, rather. I'm guessing, right? Let's take a quick look at a monster, any monster. Seraphic Servant, Perfect Body. Opponent must make. No, that's a different thing. This is a different other thing. Let's see, these are like people. Do we have like a monster? Attacks. 1d6. Anyone who takes damage must roll 1d10. Blah blah blah. I don't know. Well, close target, defense with speed. Okay, so their attacks define what you defend against them with, which is cool. But other than that, let me see. I don't see any examples of defense with speed. Yeah, I don't see anything that says like, oh, I mean, I guess we'll look at these a little bit closer when we get them. But I'm wondering if there are any enemies that are, let's see, officers of Hearn look like human. Do they have anybody that has any kind of armor? Aha, here we go. Oh, bull. Oh, this is just a straight up strength check now. Or rather, something that... Yeah, no, I don't see anything. One nearby target or two close targets. Interesting. Will check, strength. Close target defense with strength. Yeah, so I think it's just like, yeah, they can still have some interesting stuff, like damage will bypass stuff. But yeah, so that's you know. See, what I'm thinking is as you get more powerful, or rather as you fight more powerful enemies, but you're still rolling the same thing to defend. I guess because the attacks from the more powerful enemies have side effects or have additional effects. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent here on how that would affect higher level play. That said, this game actually we haven't seen it yet, but this game caps out at level 5. Like, this is not a high level campaign kind of thing. Your characters actually start out very capable to start with, even at level 1, and you can get substantially more by every level, but it really does cap out at level 5. So it's also not like, I don't know, I guess once we get to the monsters, we'll take a closer look. What I specifically want to do is look at a low-level monster, like look at your giant rat, your basic giant rat or whatever, and then look at one of the higher-level monsters, like, I guess, those angels that we kind of glimpsed, stuff like that, and compare what about these monsters makes them more or less dangerous to a group that is, like a level 1 group versus a level 5 group, right? Monty Cook games with target difficulties. Yeah. Yeah. No, the thing is, like, one of my favorite friends of the podcast, Explorers Wanted, one of my favorite on a personal level podcasts, an actual plays, one of the few actual plays that I actually listen to, because A, audio quality, and B, just player and GM quality. They're damn good. Highly recommend. Cannot recommend them enough. And it's Numenera. It's pure Numenera. And they're very good with the system because it's all they play. And I have a soft spot for Numenera and for the Cypher system because of that. Also, we played our very own, very long campaign, literally called the long shot of that, which was good. But my affection for Numenera continues thanks to them. on a daily basis. So I'm going to keep just comparing the rest of the system to Numenera as I go. All right. Well, anyway, I went on a once again on a tangent once I was thinking about defending, because I want to see. Stop it, Dan. Stop it, Dan. Let's go. We'll get there. And finally, let's see. Escape in combat. We're going to go so much faster with the rest of this book. Escape. If players wish to retreat from combat before their opponents are defeated. Sorry, take some water here. The players may initiate an escape. An escape can include trying to outpace their opponents in a chase or finding places to hide. During an escape, players are still in combat. Initiative order remains the same. Players can use their main actions to make speed checks to run or knowledge checks to hide from their opponents. Once again, knowledge is your stealth, is your hiding skill. Interesting. Escaping requires 2 success. So there's a specific system for it. I like that. Escaping requires 2 successful checks on different turns. So it can keep going, but you need to make 2 successive turns. So you can, if you fail one, it's not immediately over. I guess you can keep going after making successful set player rolls further escape checks. Okay, and once you made your first one, the second one is rolled with advantage. Good, I like that. There's a reward for success. Players successfully escape. They cease to be targeted by opponents, will remain in combat, and act initiative order until all players have escaped. Okay, so escape is individual per player. Fair enough. Player automatically escapes if they move far away from their opponents or somewhere they can't be followed. Escape players that attack opponents reveal themselves and must make their escape checks all over again. Okay, character is hiding, the cover is destroyed, antagonist otherwise reveals the hiding place. Character must start escaping again. Fair. Combat is over. Okay, cool. So basically it turns the set of escape rolls into basically a chase scene. Cool. I wonder how often this would be seen, because in my experience, most players are allergic to running from combat. So we'd have to see like how you encourage them. And I think having there be a system, I actually like this, because I think having there be an escape system, making sort of this roll off and sort of hide and seek chase scene. If you're at all a capable GM, you're going to turn this into a scene. You're going to do a lot of descriptions here, and this, like a good chase scene, is a hell of a lot of fun. If you're not taking the opportunity to turn this into a chase scene, what are you even doing? But I think that the fact that there is a scene with this might make it happen more often. Right? Because there is a specific system. It's like, you know what, this is not going well. We're about to learn about hit points and how you recover, so we'll see this in a moment. It's under my hand. But like, hey, we're getting our asses kicked, or we can't take this risk, or it's taking too long, or as a GM, you're like, you have to get out of the wherever it is that you invaded. You don't have time for a long, protracted fight. Let's do an escape. So there's a system for it. I dig that, and I think it would open the possibility more to players occasionally just running from combat, or trying to evade it and run from it and escape from it when it's not strictly necessary, because there's a system to handle that. So I do like that approach. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk hit points and armor points. So characters track their hit points and armor points, HP and AP. HP is an abstraction of the physical health of the character. Okay, pretty straightforward. Character successfully attacked, they might lose HP. Damage is absorbed first by the character's armor, if any, which is abstracted as AP. Okay, so your armor is a rating that wears down with use. Once the character's AP is reduced to 0, all additional damage directly affects the character's HP, including any remaining damage from the attack that reduce the damaged character's AP to 0. Okay, so roll over attack. Roll over damage between one or the other. Stay it forward. There's some attacks that bypass armor and damage HP directly. Cool. Makes sense. Character starts with a number of HP determined by the character class. Okay, so rest and recovering hit points and armor points. Okay, recovering AP. I want to read about that in a second. HP is recovered naturally when a character rests at a rate of 1 to 3 hit points based on their class. Characters can recover HP from resting once per 24-hour period. Rest requires character to have a period of at least 6 hours of sleep, yada yada yada. If you don't get that, you don't get HP. Okay, so pretty straightforward healing. Recovering HP through magic. Okay, so fungal magic or patchworking. Blah, blah, blah. The works of Hands of God, who's a character with the life force of dead angels through a process known as seraphic healing. So point is, there is magical healing as well. That was covered by its own rules. Recovering AP. This is important, because these are items, they cost money. AP is recovered completely after each combat. This mechanic has no real-world justification. It is a way of abstracting the role. Okay, I already love it. Already love it. It is a way of abstracting the role of armor into gameplay. Armor only provides so much protection per combat. When a character's AP is depleted, their armor is not destroyed or broken. It has just provided as much protection as it could. Once combat resolves to calm, AP is completely restored, taking no effort from the characters. Good. I like that. I like that. I wonder if there are abilities, maybe some of the knights or the Corsorian knights or the dog girls that can recover AP faster or in the middle of combat, I wonder. But it's not strictly necessary because it all comes back after combat. But I'm curious if there's ways to tighten up your armor during combat to bring it up. I guess we'll see. But okay, overall though, I like this. My worry was that you were getting your armor actually destroyed. That's not the kind of game I'm signing up for here. But I do agree with the concept and idea of what's happening there. So good move on that. No quarrel from me there. Out of action and death. Now you go. See, this is what you should have done a page ago. This is what you should have done 1 page ago. Out of action, OOA. Now we know what that means. Now we can refer to it as OOA for the rest of our, let's see, how many pages are we looking at here? Oh, nearly 300 pages. Nearly 300 pages. I'm being mean. I'm sorry. I'm the worst. I love you. I love this game. I'm having fun with it. But I'm being a dick. If a character reaches 0 8 points, they are out of action. Additional damage from the attack that knocked them out of 8 does not carry over. Okay, so once you hit 0, even if you were at 1 and you got hit with 10 HP, you're just down to 0. You're not down to -9. Exactly. A player with 3 HP who is hit for 3 damage is just as much trouble as if they were hit for 17 damage. Either way, you're reduced to 0 and you're out of action. Cool. Character that's out of action is not dead, nor are they necessarily unconscious, but they are generally incapacitated. Out of action character cannot generally take move actions, main actions, reactions, free actions, attack, defend, blah 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 blah, except as dictated by their class's unique out of action ability. So classes do have a unique out of action ability. We will get to those once we get to the classes. An out-of-action character automatically fails defense rolls. Out-of-action character can only do actions listed in their abilities for being out of action. Okay. I actually like that. It means even if you're taken out of action, even if you go down, there's still a thing you can do. I wonder what those things are, and we'll take a look at them shortly. But I like that even if you go out of combat, you're not out of the game entirely. There's still some way you can influence. Let's see. Ooh, okay, and then once you're out of action, if they still keep banging on you, if you're still hitting you, if you're still taking damage, now they're doing ability score damage, which is right here on the other page. And apparently that's important enough to cover. Yeah, the root for being roused. Rousing an out-of-action character. An out-of-action character can be roused by a player or NPC at the end of combat. Rousing a character stabilizes them and addresses whatever caused them to go out of action. Tourniquet might be tied around bleeding limb. Roused character returns to 1 HP, but any ability score damage they have taken remains. Cat, could you not? Let's see. In addition, whichever ability failed in the check that caused them to go out of action also takes 1 point of damage. So that's the penalty for going out of action. In addition to the HP, and you have to recover HP and all that, of course. But if you go to the point where you got knocked out, so if the thing that knocked you down, you defended against it with strength, then your strength goes down, takes 1 point of damage. If you defend against something with speed and fail, then your speed takes 1 point of damage. I guess if there are mental attacks, knowledge or will, then likewise, right? Interesting. Because, yeah, it doesn't kill a character, but it does imply the significant harm has been done. The kind of harm that can have expense. So, recovering ability score damage. Before we get to the rest of them. So, how do we get that back? How badly are you fucked, right? When a character receives ability score damage, that damage does not go away on its own. The character can only heal ability score damage through receiving patchworking from a patchworker. For specifics about recovering ability score damage. Okay, so at that point, you need healing. Either a patchworker in your party, or I guess an NPC patchworker, and then that becomes plot. So, okay, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with. This is like, yeah, like you got, hit bad, and now you need assistance. Like that I'm okay with. Yeah, this is cool. NPCs. When NPCs are reduced to 0 HP, up to GM's discretion whether the target's incapacitated or killed. Cool. And players can say if this is to cast. Okay, cool. I like that. It's pretty straightforward. Leaves it completely to the player or the GM as needed. No need to worry, or like in some games where it's like, oh, I'm attacking you with this weapon. Oh, well, in that case, it's always lethal. Like you cannot help but kill people, which that's not how it's annoying. It's annoying, right? So let's see here. Cool. Pretty straightforward. All right. Statuses. Knocked down. That's if you're... Okay, this is basically being knocked prone. And what that means for... Here's the status. Caught, catch, trapped in a device or otherwise... Okay, so basically you are trapped, effectively. Caught or catch. So this cannot make... Okay, so basically you are caught. You cannot move until you are uncaught. Pretty straightforward. Frightened, something terrifying. After being frightened, you have to make 2 will checks at the beginning of each of your turn. 1. Okay, cool. So basically at the beginning of each turn, you make 2 will checks, 1 for whether you can move or not, and 1 for whether you can act or not. And if you fail both, then you can do nothing except run away. Interesting. I kind of dig that approach, because it doesn't, even if frightened, you might still be able to like lash out or like move strategically even in the fear. I dig that. Okay, cool. Then paralyzed, you're capable of taking that full paralyzation. Stunned, you spend your next turn effectively paralyzed, except for defense rolls. Paralysis, being paralyzed. Yeah, you don't really get to defend, especially from close. Okay, cool. And then out of action is out of action. All right, nothing too crazy here. I like that approach to being frightened. I like that little bit there. Environmental hazards. All right, so it's just being falling damage. It's real D. That feels real D&D. Getting thrown. Okay, I like that there's a specific damage for that, especially because there is a dog's wheel, basically a motorcycle or vehicle. Like there is vehicular combat, and there being a damage rating for falling off that vehicle. Good. Fire, water, you can't swim in armor. Drowning is bad, and if you keep drowning, it continues being bad. Cool. Reputation. This is going to be important because as we mentioned earlier, this game seems to care a lot about your reputation with other groups. So let's see how that goes. Reputation is everything in Penumbra City and is as important to character progression as leveling up. Reputation affects the default disposition of NPCs to the characters and determines the character's access to goods and services. Reputation with coalitions is measured on a scale of -4 to 4. Having favor with a faction can bump a character's effective reputation with that faction up to 5. The higher a reputation is, the harder it is to improve it. The lower a reputation is, the harder it is to reduce it. Reputation is held with coalitions, not individuals or factions, but reputation is improved by gaining favor from multiple factions within a coalition. So a whole big thing here. So let's see. Gain favor. I'm going to try and skip over this quickly rather than the whole, doing the whole full read through, because it's a lot, and I'm trying to at least get to... What time is it, by the way? It's already 5 p.m. Yeah, I'm going to I can stick around for until 6. I can stick around till 6. After that, I do need to pause, just because I'm going to be tired and I need to rest my voice. I need to work up to being able to just go speaking all day, every day. I don't know how folks like Hassan and everyone else does it, because I'm already kind of feeling my voice go a little. So we'll see. But I used to do this before. I can do it now. It's just a matter of letting it go. But also, I'm not going to force myself. An hour or less, and I'm out of here. But this is good. I'm having fun. So let's kind of go over this very quickly, see what we think. So you can gain favor with different factions or others' reputation. Favors characters' favoritism, reputation. Okay. So you have a reputation with the coalition itself. So with the revolutionists, with the bulwark, with the reasonable, but you can also gain favor with specific factions within a coalition. And if you have favor within a coalition with a specific faction, then they will treat you better than maybe the rest of the faction will, or the rest of the coalition will, which is cool. I like that. It makes it a little bit more grainy. Favors gained from a faction performing a notable act or deed for that faction. Factions whom an individual has favor that are part of a coalition that the character has a negative or neutral reputation will treat the party as though they have a reputation of 1. So it's even possible to have a good reputation with a faction, but it does cap it out. You're never going to be their best friend if the rest of the coalition hates you. Cool. Dig it. Let's see here. Gaining favor with a faction is no easy task. Might not be gained by dealing with an infestation of monstrous centipedes in a basement, but favor might be gained by rescuing a faction's member who was arrested by the Kingsmen. As a guide for GMs, favor is something that can be gained through completing an entire adventure that revolves around a faction, not any of the smaller component parts. Right, because with the levels being -4 to +4, it's 4. So yeah, every step raised there is going to have to be fairly intense, right? So okay, I like that guidance. Like, you want to raise your reputation with a faction by a whole point. Cool. That's the adventure. That's the thing that we're doing. All right, neat way to do it. Exactly. Let's see. Favor can be lost by doing something harmful to a faction the character has favor with. The party rescue a dog girl from the cops, then they might gain favor with the dog girls. They then turn around and give the dog's wheel they were gifted by the dog girls to the Lords of the New Order. They might immediately lose that favor. So, all right, good to know. Home faction. Characters each start as part of a home faction that is tied to their class. Character always has favor with their home faction. So the dogs girls always have favor with the dogs girls. Cool. Fair enough. Improving reputation. When a character has favor with 4 different factions within a coalition, the reputation with the coalition goes up by 1 point. Wow. So building coalitions and building favors, like, let's see how much. I mean, it's gotta come with good benefits, because this is a lot of work. This is coalition building in this game. I mean, I like it. Let me be very clear. I actually really like that there is a system to keep track of coalition building within a faction, and then you have to help multiple factions within a coalition to actually raise your reputation with that whole coalition. I like that. And that can be, because that's a campaign. That's your campaign right there, coalition building. You want to improve your reputation with all the various factions within, say, the revolutionists, and as those favors come through and you do these tasks, and these tasks become more and more dangerous and interesting as you go up in reputation with the various factions, until you are the heroes of the revolutionists of this entire coalition. That's a campaign. You are giving me a campaign structure and a system for tracking my progress within a campaign, and I fucking love it. But I'm curious to see what these scores translate to in terms of, like, all right, so what do my players get? Other than, I guess, access to those factions, I guess, and access to progressing the quest, which everybody loves, right? But also stuff, right? Do I get powers? Do I get equipment? Do I get, what perks do the players get as these numbers go up? And I guess we'll see. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully there's stuff. Let's see what we get for that. Because while I love this as a tracking system, in order for my players to sort of be on board, they're going to want rewards. They're going to want bennies. They're going to want toys in exchange for putting in all this work, right? So let's see. So improving reputation, blah, 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 gaining 1 point reputation. The factors with whom a character has favor resets, except their home faction. As the rest of the coalition's opinion of the character has caught up with the faction. Interesting. Okay, because favor is just like either you have favor or you don't. And if your reputation with, for example, the revolutionist is by default 1, but you have favor with the dog girls, for example, then they will treat you as if you were reputation 2. But that's it. You're not going to get them to treat you as reputation 3 or reputation 4. In fact, if you want to raise your reputation further, you have to help out the other people in the coalition. So you have to find, say, the children or the Eridani Foundation and get, gain favor with them. And once you've gained favor with 4 of them, then your coalition reputation goes up from 1 to 2, and then it's not then the dog girls don't treat you as 3. Now everybody treats you as 2, and now you would have to gain additional favor, gain a new favor, gain favor again with the dog girls to get them to treat you as if you had at a 3. I like that. I dig that because once now they've caught up, like you're no longer, like you are in favor by default. You are now always at 2. You can't lose that, or you can't lose that, but you know what I mean. So okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And again, it's that because I thought for a second, like, oh, what if I just focus on one specific faction and just gain favor with them multiple times? Will that help me? It's like, no. You only really gain the favor with a faction once, and then that's it. It's a yes, no. It's not a number. Let's see. Gotta go do dishes and such. You'll be in the background. My name is Response. No worries. Thanks. I am wonderful to wash dishes with. In fact, I should market my videos as that. I should market my videos as good for doing your dishes too. That's a marketing thing. I'm gonna write that down. Let's see here. So, okay, so that's how you improve. Let's see, character can only improve the reputation with a custom perfect shore content. Exactly. A character can only improve the reputation of the coalition up to 4. Gaining access to a faction service and equipment that require a reputation of 5 can only be done by having a reputation of 4 with the coalition and favor with the faction that offers those services or equipment, which brings the character's effective reputation with that favor up to level 5. Cool. So apparently there is stuff you gain access to. Excellent. Losing reputation. Reputation is lost by acting against the interests of a coalition or the factions within it, which actions result in reputation is up to the GM. I'm assuming there's going to be some guidance as we learn more about the factions later. For instance, reputation should not be lost for small things like getting a borrowed dog's wheel destroyed, or getting caught harvesting flesh for patchworking in public, or offending a high-ranking member of a faction. However, if a party kills the leader of a faction or disrupts major plans, then it is likely 1 point of reputation will be lost with the coalition. All right. In addition, repeated acts of minor convenience might eventually lead to the loss of reputations. I guess probably a minor inconvenience is what was meant there. General tip for GMs: players should be somewhat aware of particular actions' potential to reduce their reputation. Okay, it's not pretty straightforward. It's just like some good guidance. It's like, hey, these numbers should not be flickering constantly, right? It should be losing or gaining reputation is a thing that happens. It's a decision that was made, and it's a proper action that is taken. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. And then individually based. Reputation and favor are held individually by characters, not by the collective party. Most of the time, though, favor and reputation are earned collectively by a party going on adventures together. A GM at their discretion might have individual characters lose or gain favor and reputation to their individual deeds. Okay, so good to know as well. Yeah, I mean, every character will have their own like starting reputations. Like the gas lampers here have their starting reputations with the various factions. So So that's going to differ from character to character. So yeah, no, that makes sense that each character is tracking their own individually. The party as a whole might have also a specific reputation, but individuals are responsible for their own actions. Cool. And in fact, here's your guidance. Here's your guidance groups with mixed reputation. So what happens if there's different but mostly positive, different but mostly negative? Yeah, exactly. The lowest reputation is so that people always assume the worst, and people have a hard time seeing the best. So the one. Yeah, so you have to pick one. You have to pick the one who leads the negotiating is the one whose reputation to go with makes strength, and that's why you would have, for example, a lordling asking a lordling to lead negotiations. Yeah, okay, fine enough. Okay, here we go. If you've got mixed, positive and negative, a group receives both positive and negative actions. The sum of the lowest reputation, the highest reputation determines. Oh, the sum of the lowest and the highest determines how the group is treated. However, in these instances, the character with a positive reputation should not necessarily be mistreated by the faction. The individual with a positive reputation should still be treated with appropriate disposition. They might, however, be treated with skepticism or at least confusion. Okay, that makes sense. So let's say we've got somebody who is coming in there with a reputation of 2, but they're coming in with a known enemy of the clan who has a reputation of -3 with them. -3, 2, so that's an effective reputation of -1. So that's how they're going to generally approach the pair, right? As a -1. But the person who has the 2 reputation solo, even though they're effectively -1 for whatever the negotiation is, they're not going to be treated 100% as a -1, right? They're still going to be treated as a friend, as somebody who has a favor with that clan or with that faction. But whatever negotiation is still effectively at a -1 because you brought an enemy. What the fuck? So, okay, cool. I get that. Makes sense. Changing a faction's coalition. Penumbra City is a game of building community even across coalition allegiances. A faction that a party has favor with can be lured into switching coalitions. For example, a player can play as a Fungalian who is aligned with the revolutionists, but is a member of the Esteemed who are part of the Reasonable. The Fungalian could try to shift the Esteemed's allegiance. What it takes to shift the allegiances of a faction is at the discretion of a GM beyond the party having favor with that faction, but it should be a major undertaking. So that's actually dope. I like that it does leave the door open, even if it's mostly just like a GM's discretion kind of thing. But I like that that is an option, that you could have a party work towards literally having a faction move from one coalition to another. I really like that. All right, let's see here. Reputation disposition scale. All right, so that's just your general scale of what that means. So friendly, accepted, loved, honored, dislike, despised, hunted, mortal enemy. Cool. So equipment and services. So let's see. At this point, services is a what you need chapter. Right. Factions are happy to offer goods and services to characters with whom they have positive reputation. A character's reputation determines the quality of goods, level, service, and capacity to which the NPCs can be employed. Equipment like weapons, food, tools, vehicles, and armor has the different quality levels: improvised, basic, fine, fancy, and masterwork. Services include things like healing, guidance, information, rituals, and aid in battle. Equipment and services, even requested with appropriate reputation, are offered within reason. For example, a party might request 1,000 swords from the Corsori, but the Corsori probably don't have 1,000 swords to lend. Factions do not have bottomless amounts of any given item, and some requests, especially repeated requests or requests without good reason, might cause a faction to feel like they are being taken advantage of. Okay, so I don't know, let me see. I want to get a more solid feel. It's character progression. I want to get a more solid feel for what I think these pages are stuck together. Yes. Come on. Not? Now I'm confused. Okay, this music matches the moment. Oh no, 33, 34. Okay, so it's not. I don't know why. Just goes to character progression here. Wait, before we go to character progression, which I do actually want to go through. Maintaining the higher character's reputation is within a given coalition, the more work the characters likely have to do. Okay, so yeah, so it's work. I get it. This is pretty straightforward. The more you have reputation and you have favor with them, the more they're going to demand of you. That's pretty straightforward. I dig it. Now, where do we get, maybe, is there a section? I wish they would tell you for more information, see the services section. Okay, services section of what you need chapter. That should have page numbers. What you need, game mechanics, what you need, equipment, 182, services, 211. I don't know if this is going to be tied to factions. I have a feeling it's going to be more generic. Services, different levels. Okay, no, actually no. Maybe I was wrong. I am pleasantly surprised to have been proven wrong. Aid. At different levels of reputation, members of factions will be willing to accompany adventuring parties to different levels of risk. These dynamics are ultimately up to the discretion of the GM, but below is a helpful guide for equating reputation level to NPC willingness to accompany the party into danger. NPCs who are mistreated are expected to add as cannon fodder. Okay, so these are the kind of things, the kind of services you can get from a faction based on your reputation with them. So at reputation 0, verbal or written information about an area and its dangers as long as they have a decent social interaction or exchange. Okay, so basically your neutral interaction. Info or services in exchange for, some kind of reward. Verbal or written for reputation 1, verbal or written information about an area and its dangers without necessarily asking for much in return. Some factions will provide guides at this level as long as there is no danger. So basic guide services. As will probably not help for more than a few hours. Guides might leave, the trip becomes dangerous. Okay, cool. Reputation 2, provide a guide or companion at this level as long as the danger has minimal danger. Companion will not put themselves in harm's ways, but they will provide support if it looks like the fight will be lost. Companion might run. Okay, basic standard. Just somebody who's willing to take a risk, but is not there to protect your party. Reputation 3, at this point, you might be willing to put themselves in danger if it is for a cause they support. 1 or 2 companions might guide and aid a party in combat no matter the result or danger for a prolonged period. Okay, cool. So you're going to have a friend in your group. In the group, then let's see. Many members of a faction at level 4 will support a party on a long and dangerous adventure as long as you are free. At this point, you are effectively part of the faction. In 5, it's that level that you can only get to. You are basically in charge of the faction at that point. So okay, I like that. So those are the basics. So basically, it's just up to the GM. Yeah, the basic levels of what they can do for you. And since there are all these levels, basic, fine, fancy, and masterwork, I'm guessing if for example, the difference engines, right? These are the computers. I'm not going to go into detail on them yet. We need to go back. But the basic, fine, fancy, and masterwork. So I'm assuming, like for example, you have a level 0 with the clackers. Wait, are they a faction? Let's see, are they a faction? Go back to the factions. I think they were, right? The children, the Corsoria, the dog girls, Aaron, the fraternal soror, the gas lampers, industrial workers of Harrow. They might be part of the industrial workers, or the Areni. The Areni, because the Areni also run the plaza, and the plaza is where the clackers keep the difference engines. Anyway, so let's say you are level 1 with the Areni, so they would probably give you access to a basic level difference engine, then a level 2 fine, level 3 fancy, and level 4 masterwork. That makes more sense. Okay, those are I'm just like, okay, yeah, food based on the reputation. Okay, here we go. I'm liking. Okay, these are actual numbers. This is what I was worried about that we weren't going to see, but I am seeing it. Good job. I like it, Penumbra City. Well done. That here are actual numbers. So healing, patchworking. So if you have reputation with 1, they might heal a total of 10 HP for a party per day. Without, you have to bring your own donor material. Or reputation 3, they will provide donor material and up to 50 HP for a party per day. So again, the more reputation you have, the more. So this is good. These are specific numbers and specific things that you can get from a faction. Again, GM's discretion. Some factions will probably be able to provide more than others, but I dig this. I dig this. This is exactly what I was hoping to find. If anything, if I have any complaint, which I don't really, it would be more. Give me more. Give me more of that. But I like this. I like this, and I like that. Yeah, the things have different levels here. But no, for this, yeah, this is the stuff. This stuff tied to reputation. And I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it's here. We have actual numbers. That is exactly what we wanted to see. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out another way of doing this eventually. Although I guess everybody's focused here on the book, what we're seeing right here, because otherwise, it just on the corner up here, it's just the top of Dan's bald head cast, which. I mean, fine, I guess, if that's what you're here for. There you are, raw dome. But otherwise, maybe hold the books like this better. I don't know, so I can read and still mostly be showing my face. Let's see. Yeah, I think I like that better. We'll see. We're still testing. We're still learning here. We're still trying out new things. Look, I can see how long I've actually been live. I've always been live for 3 hours. You know what? All right, so it's 2:50. At 3 hours, we're gonna call it a day. So let's see. So in the next 10 minutes, let's see what we can wrap up. So good. Okay, so we have a closer. Now I like this. Now I like this even better. Overall, this system there's a system for gaining and managing reputation. It is a big part of the game, and it is actually baked into the game system. It is not merely in the setting. Because there are some games that I have worked on like that, like Hometown Magic and Jesus Christ, Seeker's Call, which have worlds where I intend for there to be a more mutual aid kind of approach and a more community building kind of game. But honestly, the mechanics are not there. I haven't taken the time to do it. This is again why these games are not. They're cheap. They're free. They're not finished. They are first scrabbling attempts at making a game of myself. So I am barely a game maker on my own. But the more I read about them, the more I learn. The more I maybe someday will finally make that fantasy heartbreaker of my own. Anyway, long story short, I really like what they're doing here. With there actually being a system in place for this coalition building gameplay that they want to encourage, and there are in fact in-game mechanical benefits to the players for doing it. It increases the things they can do and the things they can get away with within the game, and hopefully leading them to do bigger and bigger moves within this whole revolution and row fight the power. Right? So I'm a big fan of this, big fan of all of this that I've just seen. So with that, the last, it's concrete, which is very helpful. Exactly, Struggle Bus. Exactly. So let's go ahead and then take a quick look at character progression. And with that, we'll wrap up. Thankfully, it's just 2 pages. And then we actually can see the classes. So cool, because tomorrow, most likely, I'll hop back on, probably earlier in the day. It took me longer than expected to kind of set all this up, but now that it's set up once, it's good. It's good. It's set up until further notice. So tomorrow, I'll probably just dive right into the classes because I'm real curious. Look at this. I love the art for the clackers. We haven't seen a lot of art in this book, which fine. I know how hard it is, so not knocking this too much, but I can't help but wish there was more. But it is what it is. But the art that we do get, lovely. I love the style of it, and I love her. She is perfect in every way. I can't wait to meet her tomorrow. So let's just focus on the character progression for these last 8 minutes by now, or less. No, 6.5 minutes. Deciding when the party's level progresses, also known as leveling up, is at the discretion of the... So this milestone progression, basically. Good guideline for leveling up is when the party has reached a milestone within the campaign after several adventures. Leveling up should, if narratively applicable, be structured around downtime. Players and GMs should discuss together what their expectations and guidelines are for leveling up. When characters advance in level, the following things are affected. So before I get to that, I like the idea. I don't know if I don't know if there's more of a GM's section later or not, but I kind of dig the idea of, since there are 5 levels in this game, and there are the 5 levels of reputation, making character progression roughly match the reputation you have, right, with your main faction. I'm assuming in 99% of games that would be the revolutionists. So it feels like, yeah, once you start at level 1 and your reputation with the revolutionists is basically at level 1, and once you've done enough work to, you've gained favor with at least 4 of the factions within the coalition, enough to then make your reputation with the coalition a proper 2, that's probably around the time that you should be as characters going up to level 2. And then once you hit reputation 3, level 3, reputation 4, level 4, and then at that point level 5 would probably be, kind of final favors and final like coalition building and getting ready for whatever the denouement, the highlight, the peak of the campaign is going to be. Because once you hit level 5, you're at the peak of your power within this game. And you should have, that's when you're probably going to want to release the final epic ending to whatever story you've been telling. The God King should hopefully fall, right? So that's how I would approach it. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the right one. As we'll see as we go, but that's how it feels like it should be. So anytime you level up, you gain more hit points. That's it. Your character class tells you how many hit points you get. Okay, we'll see that tomorrow with the character classes. Anytime you gain a level, there's a chance that some or all of their ability scores will improve. Whether a score improves or not is based on making an ability score progression check for each ability. These checks work in the opposite way as most checks. If the player rolls above but not equal to their current ability score, their ability score goes up by 1. Player rolls for each ability score. Each class offers 1 or more ability scores the character rolls with advantage on. Again, this advantage is inverted and the character takes the highest number roll. Interesting. So you don't get automatically... Okay, so that's incentivizing 2 things. 1, your class is going to have a stat that they actually roll with advantage on. So they have a better stat of raising, a better chance of raising that stat. But I suspect that's also probably going to be the stat, right? Your character's main stat. So it's probably already going to be high. So the higher your stat is, the harder it is to raise it. So at the same time, it also incentivizes bumping up your lower stats, because you have a higher chance of that working with a single roll. But there's still a chance that you might go up a level and not get anything. And that, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like there should be some sort of basic, like even if you fail the check, you still get something, especially since there's only going to be at most 5 times in your character's life where this happens, and everything is based, all rolls are based around ability scores. So the fact that there's no other way to raise it except to hope it races during a character level up, that feels weird. I don't know how I feel about that. I would need to see it in practice, and also need to see, as we look through the rest of the book, how I feel about the checks, right? How I feel about just going up in power, in level, and an ability, how the checks are going to feel. Yeah, I'm unsure about that. But all right, cool. Approaching it anyway, taking it as it is. Rules is written. There's that. Proficiencies. After they've rolled to improve their ability scores, if they want to, a player can make 1 knowledge check. So again, this is favoring people who already have a higher knowledge, which is fine, but also means that sounds like, yeah, if you failed, you don't get anything. again, I feel weird about that. I feel like it should be you get something by default, and then you can roll to see if you get more. That's how I feel a level up should be. I don't know if I would house rule it that way. Again, would need to see how it plays. And I do tend to err on the side of give the players more power. And maybe that's not what we're going for here, but it feels weird for me to have a level up procedure where there is a chance that if I roll poorly during my level up, I don't get anything, right? Maybe just one hit point. I'm guessing probably hit points is also probably a roll. In fact, we can look real quick. Let me see. Oh, you have the starting reputation, ability score, HP. No, okay, so it's not even a roll. It's just a number. Just a number. You just add 1 HP. So you really don't gain a lot of HP as you level up. Leveling up is not. Yeah, it mostly comes with getting, which is what they're going to say, the progression abilities. Mostly gets new abilities, but stats-wise, yeah, I guess you're not really meant to gain a lot of stat progression in this game, it feels like. Okay, good to know. I mean, if that's what the approach they're taking, that's the approach they're taking. As long as it's balanced throughout the book, it's fine. So I guess, again, once we look at the classes, and then we'll look at the monsters a bit, and we'll see how that feels, because I really do want to do that comparison between a level 1 character or group characters against your basic, like, giant rat, versus a level 4 or 5 group of characters versus, like, an angel or whatever the more powerful monsters in this are. So I'm looking forward to doing that hopefully tomorrow. But yeah, so again, you roll to see if you might learn something, proficiency, and it's got to be something that you experienced during the course, that you were exposed to during the course of the adventure, and you can't use it to learn another class's ability. That's fine. That's normal. That's good to actually point out. Then you got your actual character progression abilities, which are the things that you get as a character from your class. You start with a bunch of abilities already. We'll see those tomorrow. And then there are progression abilities, which you gain as you level up. And and then that's it. Narrative ends. Although there's no limit set on how many levels a character can grow, Penumbra City is designed around characters capping at level 5. Players push to progress beyond level 5. They can work with their GMs to find additional ways to advance. Players should work with their GMs to find narratively appropriate ways to retire their characters. So yeah, it really is kind of meant to be like, once you hit that level cap, your story is over. Makes sense. And I guess, again, once we see the rest of this, we'll see how well this fits. I have my reservations about this whole rolling to gain ability scores and proficiencies. But again, if the game is meant to remain low powered throughout all of it, then I guess that's fine. But it rankles me. I as a player would probably not feel great if I leveled up and I failed to raise an ability score or a proficiency. I didn't get either one of those. I still get my 1 hit point, I guess, depending on the character class, and my new character class ability, which from what I've seen very little of so far, but I've seen are mostly very cool, so cool that, but I would feel weird about this. I don't know. I feel like if I were to run this, let's see how the rest of the book treats us. But my instinct is to house rule that no, you gain 1 ability score by default, and you gain 1 proficiency by default, and if you wish, you can roll to see if you get something extra on both. That I think I would be more okay with. The idea being that you still get something, especially if there's only 5 level ups in this whole game. They should feel special, and I feel like that they would be spoiled if I rolled poorly during my level up. You know, that part feels a little weird. So, but we'll see how that goes. But on that note, Jesus Christ, I feel like the card is actually earlier on than when it started. But here we go. Continues to be and will be Penumbra City, which I will continue checking out tomorrow. For today, however, I'm basically done. And hey, Mavens222, thank you for the follow. Alas, you're following me just as I'm wrapping up the stream for today. Let's see. If the system is lethal and meant to chew through characters, I can understand the chance of increases. Also, equipment progression may be a thing. Exactly. We haven't gotten yet to equipment progression. clearly the coalition building and faction building, you get tangible benefits from that. So that also, like, you're leveling up in ways beyond just your character levels. So definitely that's there. That might be providing an additional level of balance that I'm not quite seeing yet in that level up. So again, just the nature of it still rankles me at base. But I'm not writing it off. I still overall very much like what I see. Again, I am legitimately impressed and excited about the coalition building and faction building system and how that ties in. I'm excited to see more of that, and I'm definitely excited to actually dive in tomorrow to the actual character classes. So I'm curious to see how that goes. And before I go, I did say I had a whole bunch of other. I'm just to show you. So these are the. These are the ones that I'm going to be looking at after World of Harrow. So, I mean, we've got Vast Grim, we've got Gun and Slinger, we've got Cantrip, we've got Make Our Own Heaven, we've got Our Last Best Hope, an RPG to save the world, Here, There, Be Monsters, Brave Zenith, Adventure After All, Blazing Him, We Will Damn This World Together, which I was so close. I was so close to getting to run with the Fandible Boys, and I might still. Mech Combat / Symphogear, and if you don't know about Symphogear, go watch it. It's so much better than you think it is. Arc RPG, and Bluebeard's Bride. Oh boy, that I'm taking a risk with that one. But also, some of the best gaming experiences I've had have been playing Bluebeard's Bride at cons. So I want to talk about it. I want to check them out. I want to talk about all of these games on stream and make proper videos for the YouTubes on them. But first, we got to get through Penumbra. Well, not get through. That makes it sound like a chore. It's not a chore. I am excited to continue with Penumbra City tomorrow at some point, probably far earlier than I started today, but excited for it. So let me go ahead and just let's see, change back here. And all right, anyway, I'm calling it a day for now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. For the couple of people that went in on the YouTubes, I appreciate that as well. And I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more of these as well. This whole thing worked. I was able to stream on the YouTubes and on here. I did the thing. I'm excited for the things to come as well. So looking forward to that. But hell, I might even pop back on tonight. No promises. Do not hold me to that. We'll see how I feel and how my voice feels. I'm at that, excited. This is working points. So let me not overpromise. Let me rest my voice a bit. Build some endurance, and then you're gonna just get tired of me. That's excited for that. Anyway, on that note, wrapping it up. Thanks so much for hanging out. Struggle Bus, you're a real one. And I will be back around tomorrow. And exactly, hey now, don't overstrain it. Exactly, consistency is better than quality, is better than quantity, and consistent quality is better than either. So we'll focus on that. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm just going to go ahead and do the ending screen for a bit. I think that one has no music, so I'll just bear it in silence for a moment while I add some music and just let it linger for a bit and then wrap it up. And I will be back tomorrow. Bye.